if I ask him to, he will put you backstage. I'm trying not to. I'm trying to be nice.
I will.
We'll start with the ad homs. Because
Okay.
You need a blessing of Jesus.
on a Christian channel, you would have been put backstage with the ad homs.
Father, Son, Spiritus Sancte. There's my holy water. Pretend I'm shaking this on you. Jesus, in the name of your Son or your Father, whatever. Cast the demons out of Jill so stop filibustering, and I don't have to send them into purgatory.
That's the devil's juice. Mountain Dew.
The devil's juice is Mountain Dew, code red.
Somebody told me one time I don't have to preach it all at the same time. I could cut it like Subway and give you a 6-inch in the morning and a 6-inch at night. That's not my style. I'm going to shove this entire foot long down your throat.
Amen. Welcome back to Flow State. Yeah, Sarah, Chuck was off the chain last night, and I am over 1,000 members now. So right on for that. Let's see. I just restreamed based oracles, and I've got a few flyovers to do. So thank you to Steve, Harlow, and Harmon, and Romello 747 for those. I'm going to combine them into one shock and awe bombing.
When you hear the sirens or anti-aircraft guns, you must get under cover at once. If you're in the open with no cover, lie down. The most important rule of all is never to stand staring at the sky. If you don't take cover, you may get hurt.
All right, and thank you to Ike for the $50 on that stream as well, asking where are the white women. This stream I want to cover, and I'll bring up old Joe in a second, and I think Sarah as well. But it's not. I'm not doing an open panel, at least not for the beginning. Last night after my stream, when I was falling asleep, I heard old Joe on Glenn's, and they were having a discussion that interested me, and so I kind of want to review that a little bit and get Joe's thoughts on it. That's good. Anything before we kick off?
I'm good so far.
You good? All right. Welcome, Sarah. I'm glad that you're here to be the white woman that Ike wanted.
Yes. I've always wanted that role.
All right. Let me share the screen real quick and we'll get into it. Yeah, I was trying to pay attention, but man, I was just fading out last night. It sounded like I heard some familiar talking points, though. All right, so this is right before you come in.
Making it too public. I don't know how to explain it.
I kind of agree with you. I do believe that God always wanted relationships. I think man tend to make religion, and that's why things kind of get perverted at times, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But there's nothing. That's not being. With that being said, there's nothing wrong with having tradition in
yeah.
Having ritual. You know what? Maybe ritual is not the word to use, but having reverence for the ritual.
Yeah.
I guess.
I mean, come from an Old Testament perspective, you could say there was a lot of ritual in that with the temple and stuff. So there's a lot of ritual.
Should I skip forward some, or do you get into it pretty quickly?
I think you can skip forward. I think it's probably a couple minutes.
I'll speed it up.
In the Bible, really.
Yeah.
But there's not really I think from a New Testament perspective, though, he's wanting it to be more closer on a personal relationship, more like how it was.
What you threw up in the chat, you're at
Yeah, that was it right there.
Marriage for 5 or 10 years, but you still might be able to hold it together. It's
well, that's
it's a
what he
different.
kind of points out. He does point that out like in a little bit later.
Yes, and Melchizedekian priesthood because
Yeah.
because of Melchizedek.
World War II 1 and 2 expert. I'm gonna welcome old Joe to the stage. How you doing, old Joe?
Good, good. How about you guys?
Doing well, doing well.
Doing well, doing well.
I think we're about to move on to our next topic, but I did want you to mention what you threw up in the chat. You're asking, do you believe in a plan? I'm starting to believe in some sort of purpose. Do you want to care to elaborate on that?
Sure, I can. And I would like, if possible, for us all to acknowledge that when, at least for me, when I'm speaking about God, very, very difficult topic for me intellectually. I've said before, it's on the limits of my intellect. So if I say something nonsense-wise, I'd hope that people would be tolerant of it, because we're really.
I'm not going to beat you over the head with the Bible. Don't worry. Now, Veritas, on the other hand, I don't know. He's one of those Orthodox. You know how violent they get.
I'm going to throw a theory out here in terms of order, and I know that some of the stuff I'm going to say will be blasphemous. There's no doubt about it. For some people,
This is just more of a thought experiment, right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So anything that you watch that somebody is good at, if somebody is thinking and somebody has a purpose, you can almost see it in the way they move. You see it in their face, in their body language. And it doesn't take somebody that's brilliant to recognize it. If somebody's a really good basketball player, you can recognize that, even if you're not a good basketball player yourself. There's something in a refined purpose that seems to have a pattern. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
Okay, so it seems to me that sometimes if I can pull my mind back, and you hear lots of great thinkers talk about God revealed in mathematics, in biology, in chemistry. If you pull your mind back every once in a while and think about existence, reality as a whole, there seems to be a purpose to it. There seems to be a harmony to it. And it almost seems to me, and here's the crazy part, and I can't prove it, and I'm willing to be shot down, but it almost seems to me like reality as a whole is thinking around us, and we're too stupid to see it. I can't shake that feeling.
I would totally agree with that. The reality is around us thinking, and we're stupid to it. Yeah, because there's something going on like in the background. I could totally agree with that.
I guess I'm trying to understand it more.
It sounds like beatific vision, Catholic stuff.
Well, and this is the thing I would really ask to avoid. Sometimes there's a temptation to use labels rather than descriptions. Have you found that? You folks found that in intellectual discussions that oftentimes labels will be brought up, and then it kind of bottoms out the conversation a little bit because these labels are ambiguous?
Well, are labels ambiguous, or do they have a direct term and understanding? Which is it? Is it both?
I myself have found that the more complex the concept, the more ambiguous the labels are, and the more open to interpretation they are. And sometimes people can not question the fact that these labels are foreign to them because they don't want to appear stupid, right? So somebody will throw a label in, and I found oftentimes, and I'm not accusing you of this, I'm saying that I've seen it. Sometimes the people using the labels and the terminology don't understand them all that well, which is why for me, I really like to use descriptions instead. That way everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, okay, perhaps. But so labels.
I just want to point out, like, you called me an intellectual. Okay, moving on. Sorry.
So point out which. Sorry, I missed that. Glenn, what was that?
I said you referred to me as an intellectual, having intellectual conversations.
Well, and you guys are having an intellectual conversation. And when you speak about the Bible and the different types of philosophies and ways of communicating, I have no connection to that. Like I have no familiarity with the Bible. So you're speaking Greek to me.
I see what you're saying. I
Yeah.
see what you're saying, but like,
So-
you just kind of made me sound smart. So
Well,
that's
you
all
are-
I was laughing at, you know. But
As-
let's
as-
continue.
As I've gotten more experience, I find that smartness, or intelligence, tends to revolve a lot around experience. You know, have you been exposed to this material? How smart does an electrician appear to the person who's never seen any of that stuff? It appears brilliant, right? But it's a matter
really, yeah.
it's a matter
Okay,
of understanding the material, which is why I think in common parlance and discourse, especially in terms of religion, we really should try and use descriptions as much as possible rather than labels. It's amazing how labels, like even in the Bible, my understanding is that they've poured over every single word, you know,
But aren't labels also just as important as the description? that they
well,
go to?
as long as you are using the labels correctly. So let me give you an example. There is a German word. It's called Gemütlichkeit. And it's a word that there's no word I know of in English, but it is meant to wrap a bunch of concepts together: hospitality, welcomeness. And I think if you don't have the word to describe a particular concept, then you need to resort to a label. Or if you're using labels that you all understand, that makes the conversation more efficient. But for a layman's discussion, I think academic labels may be less productive. I have seen, and here I'm a little.
I agree, because labels, everybody's going to interpret a label a bit differently, and so it's actually not particularly descriptive if you're trying to get into the details of something. Joe, do you want to set up this conversation a little bit? I believe that. Well, I know that Glenn is a Christian, and I'm under the impression Verita is as well. I don't know about World War One. How would you?
Yeah, I just met these two fellows, and I'll be a little more open on this panel than I was on that one, because I wasn't looking to cause a lot of dissent. I don't think I know. Oftentimes, labels are used to mask meaning and hide it, or kind of squirt away from a discussion that may be uncomfortable. The one guy, the Veritas fellow there, he's an Orthodox Christian, I believe. And World War One, it sounded to me like he was some other denomination, but I'm not exactly sure what that is.
And what was the catalyst for you coming up? Do you recall? Was there something that they were saying that got you up here?
They were talking about a purpose, and basically, I think indirectly they were referring to intelligent design. Like all the questions, it basically comes back to, is there a God or not? That's how I interpret it anyways. And then Glenn, when I put a comment in the chat, and Glenn asked me to come up and address it, which I did.
Good deal.
Jaded because I spent a good deal of time in post-secondary education, and I have seen people stand in front of classrooms and use labels for 10, 15 minutes. And really, in the end, when you break down what they're saying, it's absolutely nothing. So you can hide behind labels as well. I'm not trying to vilify it too much, but what I'm trying to say is the concepts that we're describing here, I would like to try and use language that the audience and myself can access, so we all know what we're talking about. At least that should be the goal. Consensus.
Oh yeah, no, I'm fine with that. That's fine.
So
So that was what, when I was saying there appears to be a purpose. That's what I was referring to. If you look at how the whole fabric of reality is moving, there seems to be a pattern and a purpose to it, and it seems to me to resemble thought. That's just me. I mean, that could be schizophrenia on my part too. I don't deny that. So, Flo,
Now,
can
you're
you
saying,
pause
is
it for a
that
sec?
purpose for like a collective, universal purpose, or can that be broken down to individual? Like, what is your purpose?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So, and once again here, this is a hard question to answer, but it seems to me that there is a motion or a design that we, although involved in, are separate from. If I had to guess, like it seems like we can observe it happening. I've heard a lot of people say that they feel that we're part of a giant organism and that organism is God. I don't know if I believe that. It seems to be like we're watching this take place around us, in my opinion, anyways. And we're talking about things that philosophers have thought about since the dawn of time. So these are just random shots in the dark.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think about that, Veritas?
So I would argue that he's kind of arguing out of both sides of his mouth at this point. So he wants labels to have a definition and meaning, and yet he wants it to be dumbed down so that people can understand it at a consensus level. When people understand things at a consensus level, it becomes problematic because you have people that you might assume think that they know what's true, but it becomes problematic because it's like people can assume truth doesn't exist, right? If we all agree truth doesn't exist, and it doesn't exist, right? So which is not true. So it's.
Well, I think
I didn't catch that the first time. He argues against consensus level, but that's what I view religion largely as.
Well, and the reason this is, can you guys still hear me okay?
Yeah.
And the reason this is because being an Orthodox Christian, all knowledge has to flow through their holy men, their priests, their church fathers. So I couldn't figure out with this guy whether he was avoiding the question or whether we were touching on topics that he's not allowed to address. I know as I become more familiar with Orthodoxy, I realize that some of these people, even Jim Bob and Andrew Wilson, they have to stay away from certain topics unless they get permission from the church. At least that's my understanding, and anybody can correct me on that if I'm wrong.
It definitely seemed like you were getting under his skin.
Well, yes, because the common parlance piece for everybody to be able to speak about God, some tenets or some religions don't believe that's a good idea. They believe it should remain concentrated in a few people.
And Sarah, do you have any thoughts on that? I don't think the Catholic Church is that. Is the Catholic Church that way?
We're pretty. I mean, I don't feel like there's some kind of like limit on what you can discuss or learn or teach or whatever outside of. This doesn't sound like anything I would have heard about.
I didn't get that impression either, and I've never been Catholic, but I went to Catholic high school for 4 years. So
yeah, I mean, there's specific things about teaching the Bible and stuff like that, but outside of that, I don't think there's any. I don't think there's anything that's specific.
And it was interesting. It was interesting. This fellow, I mean, I don't know how much you want to play, Flo, but this fellow became very defensive about and didn't want to talk about the conscious reality piece. He wanted to stay with that semantic discussion, and we kind of derailed that. But what I was really interested in was Flo was down in the chat and made, I think, one supportive comment to what I was saying and basically got jumped on. Would that be your impression, Flo?
I can see how you thought that. I didn't. Yeah, I mean, that's probably not inaccurate. I didn't feel jumped on because it didn't bother. I expect the fierce resistance to alternative opinions to dogma. And so when you're surrounded by ortho bros and you challenge like an ortho bro interpretation, because what you were saying wasn't even that the Bible is wrong or anything. It was that our interpretation is wrong.
And I think this might be the issue, is that when you start saying things that may have some credibility or make some sense, that seems to generate more resistance than somebody that's just a wackaloon. Like if I had have gone up there and started talking about things that were absolutely nonsense, I don't think we would have seen that level of resistance.
Agree. Hold on, I'm eating a
How
bite.
do you mean by I'm a little tad bit confused as to the whole context and what's going on. Um, Partially because I was making the picture that I just sent you, Flo, but I am kind of a little bit out of full context of what was being said, or kind of like what the general what's going on.
Yeah, so basically, Glenn on his panel was having a discussion about God, and I came up and offered an alternative explanation for what God and Scripture might be, and that's what we're talking about now with these two fellows, and discussing, what might this look like if you pull back and take another view of God in the Bible. So that's what kind of got us into that place where the conversation became contentious, which is the interesting spot to me, because it became very difficult to keep the conversation on track and talk about what I was actually talking about. It got drug into another arena, which was surprising.
I did understand the labels versus the descriptions. I did comprehend that piece, but whatever came after that was kind of a little fuzzy for me.
Yeah, and well, basically, he was labeling. And you can see him. He does it a number of times in this conversation. The Orthodox fellow, he tries a number of different ways to label my beliefs, because that gives you an assumed understanding about it. It sets up a hierarchy in the conversation, an intellectual hierarchy, where you can say, okay, well, I understand your beliefs. You're a determinist, or you're a this or that, right? And it's, to me, it's bad faith, because it's not about exploring anymore. It's more about classifying. And
It's dismissing.
It's classifying first, claiming an understanding, and then dismissing. And there's a term for it, and I forget what the term is.
I'm frequently referred to as a moral relativist in these contexts, which is not accurate, but
that's right. And a relativist, if from a theist perspective, if they call you a moral relativist, then they're one step away from claiming you have no moral grounding. That's not what I am.
right.
I'm
Right.
not a moral relativist at all. So I was called that. I was named a bunch of stuff.
What is a moral relative? I thought at first you were going to say a moron, but what is it? How would you describe a moral relativist anyways?
So what's your interpretation of that, Flo?
Well, the way that they use it means it's an othering phrase, but a moral relativist is somebody who doesn't believe that there is right and wrong objectively. They believe that morals are just kind of cultural things, and anything could be moral or immoral depending on your culture.
Like subjective.
Right.
Okay.
Is that your understanding, Joe?
It is. And the attack that you would place on somebody that was a moral relativist is that they would have no limiting principle. So you would say, well, if you're a relativist, what's wrong with us having a suicide machine outside the mall? Or excuse me, I apologize for the language. What's wrong with us allowing somebody to jump off of a building if they choose to, right? They will say your morals are on a sliding scale, and they'll never stop sliding. That would be their argument.
I see. So like there is no end point. If there's no moral foundation, then it just goes on. It'll never stop. Like you just keep pushing the limits because there is no limit to really happen anyways.
That's right. And in a lot of ways, I think they're accurate, the people that make those claims, with some of the stuff you see going on in today's society.
I think it's okay to, have like a balanced sliding scale in a sense, but I do think you should still have some type of firm grounding of like there are limitations to what the boundaries that are pushed and so on. But
I agree. And what I would, when I've had this conversation in the past, I always stick on well, I'll just redefine what I view morals is they're the laws of society. And by that, I mean, they're similar to the laws of nature, like gravity. If you step off a roof, you're going to impact the ground, right? Within society, if you are somebody that cannot be trusted because you're harming other people within that society, you're going to have a weak, fractured society. And so within that, if you use that for a more specific example, is murder still wrong if you live alone on a desert island? I don't know. it doesn't
Mhm.
matter because you're out of context in which that morality would apply.
Right.
And likewise, killing is sometimes absolutely necessary if you're being attacked. So I think there is definitely circumstances within the paradigm in which some morals, the morality of the situation shifts. But
Okay. Makes sense. All right. Sorry,
but-
didn't mean to derail, but I was a little lost. But yeah.
yeah, no, it's good. If you're lost, then probably most of the audience is too.
Well, I'm blonde, so it happens more often to me than others.
Nice sidestep. And you know what? I'm going to star this comment on screen for later. I feel like it might be getting ahead of ourselves. All right, let me throw this back up.
His effort was like what he's trying to do is try to use descriptions that are easily digestible rather than maybe theological labels that the layman would not understand.
So I would.
Is that correct, Uncle or Old Joe?
That's
Did somebody jump in there?
exactly it. So we have a concept, right? And first of all, the concept itself is fuzzy, but we want the person who we're conveying the concept to understand it as clearly as possible, as close to as what we're trying to convey. And if we use overly esoteric labels, there's a big chance that the people that we're speaking to will either misinterpret it or not understand it correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that there's a problem with that, Veritas? Or
So I continue to push back here. So he's using loaded terms here. Fuzzy. We should all agree. So I can literally ask every human being on the planet Earth what they think of some topic or ideology. They're all going to have a different answer. Hence why we ought have one theology, one understanding, and then continue from there. I understand what he's trying to say. This kind of reminds me of ecumenism, where we all buddy Jesus, right? Buddy Jesus. Jesus was cool, man. Hippie Jesus, and we all kind of have to dumb down our understanding and language. It's very Council of World Economic stuff, in my opinion. I hear what
you
he's
think
saying.
it's more like you're talking about like seeker friendly
Well,
doctrine?
so what I mean is like you have to dumb down language, terminology, and labels to the point where they're kind of meaningless because everybody is they're not going to have a consistent worldview. So their own definitions and labels of things is going to vary widely depending on the person that you're talking to. So
that will cause confusion in the long run, is what you're.
Yeah. So in the end, he's trying to have this like sort of unification, right? I understand this is very ecumenistic Rockefeller stuff, but the issue is there is a difference. Words have meaning. There is a purpose to these things.
So I would just like to ask a question with all due respect, Veritas.
Yeah.
Have you seen that you have entirely missed my point?
What is your point?
Well, I thought I described it, right? And
Describe it again.
I'm talking about a flow to the universe, to existence. Not even the universe. Even the universe is too small. The label piece is a side issue to what I'm speaking about. So what I'm wondering is, why is that piece so important, the label piece? I mean, I would think that would be a very minor footnote. I mean, I've just made a fairly broad claim about the nature of reality. Why take issue with the word labels?
Well, because it's not broad. We're arguing about definitions. Go ahead, World War I and II expert. You had what did you want to add?
No, hang on. No, let's not leave this one. I've just made I've just made a claim that
I missed that too. He tried to jump right the fuck off that.
Yeah, he did. He does it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Objective reality may be actively thinking around us. That's a massive claim, far more massive than the use of the term labels. Why didn't you take an issue with the first statement?
So if reality is sinking before us, therefore whatever you're saying is not realistic. Go ahead, World War I and II expert. What do you have to say?
I'm gonna try to hopefully clear up what old Joe is probably saying. Correct me if I'm wrong, old Joe.
This is why they were so eager to jump on you and then my comment.
That's right.
Yeah, okay. That's pretty amazing.
You're saying basically that you shouldn't have like huge words to have this over.
Well, I think what he's
like
trying. Okay, I think what he's trying to
That's
get
a-
at is like he's like.
huge meaning to it. It should
Well, I
be
think
like the Bible does, where the Bible takes words and it explains it in a way that people could understand it at that particular time. And it's very simplified in the sense of how it uses words.
I think what old Joe
Right.
is trying to say is kind of like what he gave us the caveat in the beginning. He said, "Hey guys, just so you know, this religion thing, Bible stuff, I'm really new at this, and I'm gonna say something that's gonna probably sound really bad, but I'm trying to do the best that I can to explain it. So give me grace," because that's pretty much what he said before he dove into his thought process, right?
And I find, yeah, no, that's right.
And
But I find it.
And I think right now what's happening is we're not giving him that grace and trying to understand what he was trying to get at and speak to his overall thought process.
Even that's revealing, Glenn, and you're absolutely right. But if I make a statement about something as absolutely insane, it could be considered insane, as I did. The fact that the conversation would be turned to semantics is, to me, I don't understand it. Why would that become the?
And maybe in that all due respect, Uncle Old Joe, that he may have not heard that previous part, the beginning part.
That could be true. Yeah, that could be true.
And that's why I wanted to re-reference that again. Like if he didn't hear that, like that he didn't know where you were coming from in understanding faith, or the Bible, or familiar with Christianity. So,
Okay, so
that's why I wanted to reemphasize that.
Sure.
Because
So let me try and drill in on the terminology a little tighter to what I think may be more relatable to a Christian perspective. It's my understanding that God made man in his image. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When we hear a statement like God made man in his image, are we talking about the fact that God had 2 legs and 2 arms, or are we talking about something else?
The spiritual image.
Okay, so God made man with the ability to think, maybe like he did?
Well,
yeah,
not think exactly like what do you mean think like he did? Like I don't.
But
I don't
with
think
a
man have the concepts of God's mind.
I would agree with that. But would the thinking piece be a commonality? Would cognition be something that we would enjoy that was gifted to us by God?
Yes, I would say so. And
I thought
morality, like obviously morality.
Hello.
You.
I thought, and I might be wrong, but I thought like the idea of wisdom came from after we, like Eve ate the apple, and then they were given the gift, well, maybe the gift or the curse at the same time of like the wisdom to know all, like to be aware of everything.
I don't know, that the whole Adam and Eve and fruit of the tree and knowledge of good and evil, that whole story is endlessly fascinating to me. It's, I don't know, Joe, what do you think? I mean, wisdom in my mind is understanding, broader understanding applied to specifics based on personal experience. And I just sort of rattled that, that's from the hip.
Yeah. Once again, you're in territory that I'm unfamiliar with. I thought that it was once the apple was tasted, then the knowledge of evil, or something like that.
Well,
I think
too.
Yeah,
like
Adam and Eve had free will, didn't they?
Yeah, they had free will, but but they, they were free before, pre apple biting. They didn't have the experience of pain and, everything like that. And post apple biting, like now you got to experience everything, good and bad. Um, and I think that, like, to be able to think and learn from, you have to experience some kind of pain. Like, how do you know fire's hot? Because you touch it and it hurts, whereas prior to that, it was, to me, this is just my thought process on that, but I just feel like the pre apple biting, it was, you didn't have to know everything, because like you just do what you got to do, and everything's kind of good to go.
So the ability to actually think, in your opinion, didn't come until after the apple was bitten?
That's how I'm thinking. Just, and I'm not saying that's true, but that's just kind of like my thought process. Because how can you understand or learn from experiences if you don't have kind of some type of pain or lesson learned to go with it in that aspect?
So I would be concerned about a scenario where we weren't able to think as a species. I'm not sure
Yeah.
that's how it would be designed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that would be contradict. Like, if you don't know what good and evil is, you can't behave morally. You don't have free will either.
And I
Right?
think that was
How
it.
could you have
That
free
biting
will without?
wasn't that biting of the apple a demonstration of free will that they
Yeah, she
already
did
had?
have they had free will, but it was almost like ignorance is bliss, kind of like a child. Like a child only knows what's surrounding them, so you shield them from bad things, right? You don't say cuss words in front of, they're not exposed to pain, or, well, they have pain, but they're not exposed to painful things, per se.
So
Um,
in terms of this discussion, I don't think that derails us too much, because what we're talking about is the ability to think and to make decisions. And this
okay.
is what we get into now, because the Christian perspective seems to draw a hard line between animals and humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is what we're talking about. And what I'm trying to find out from this Orthodox guy is, what is that line and how does he recognize it? Because he claims that it's present. And that's where the discussion moves on from here.
Okay.
If you're not supposed to eat the fruit of the tree, I don't know if you guys see this comment. If you're not supposed to eat, if there's one rule in the Garden of Eden and you don't eat that apple, is that not knowledge of good and evil? Right there, just by giving the commandment. Haven't you designated something evil? And that's sort of anybody can answer it, but I was sort of asking the chat as well.
Yeah, I guess, if but it's almost like a condensed version of evil, or it's like don't push this button, and if you push this button, everything just blows up, right? And then, and I feel like the tree is kind of like that button, like, don't push that button. And it's more like, actually, it's more of like a curiosity. So you had to develop some sense of curiosity to be willing to bite the apple. So was there type like some maybe free will, but more along the lines of a curiosity to do? I'm sorry, I feel like that's a derailment, but
You're okay. It's
I was
interesting, and
just
this is sort of one of
curious,
those
like,
musing topics.
yeah, like, I have like 10,000 questions towards what's being said, and I'm trying to understand it. I'm not trying to argue it, but more or less understand it as to what's being said and why.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we'll have a chance to go through those. I think the main premise, the main thought experiment here is, do we have the ability to think? And if so, is that in the image of God? Do we hold that in common with God? Whether you can leave the good, the bad, the morality aside, that's not part of what we're talking about here in terms of this discussion, although it's important, right?
Right.
Thinking in the sense of terms of how God sees morality would be what he would give us and give to us. and his way of that.
I agree. Okay, well, let's say for the purposes of this discussion, we agree on that. How about the cognition piece? How about the consciousness, the ability to conceive things, intellectual activity? Would that have been given to us by God? Would we have that in common with him?
Yeah, yes, because we're able to
We do.
create in a sense, but not like him. We can't literally make material just pop out of thin air, but we still have this ability to create. We can take certain materials, put them together, and make stuff like we've made computers and TVs and stuff like that. So we have this ability to create, but not exactly like God.
What do you think? Sorry, go ahead, World War II. I cut you off. I apologize.
We can't just proof it. That's all I was going to say. That was the end. We just can't proof it like
Veritas, what do you think about that?
Sorry, am I coming through? Sometimes I mute my mic.
Yeah, no, I think you were muted there.
He's like, fuck this
Okay,
Joe, dude.
so yeah, I mean, just a lot of the stuff, it's very doublespeak, like we have to have easier ways to use language so people can understand, but language also has a specific definition and meaning. So it's like you kind of want this both and or problem going on here. And to me, it just seems very ecumenistic, Rockefeller in a sense. And it's never going to work because we have a very specific theology and worldview. Once you move away towards that, you tend to fall into like lies and inconsistent theology. And then it kind of manifests itself into reality as we see nowadays.
But I think I did ask a fairly clear question.
Right, I know, but you're saying that words are, we got to dumb them down so people can understand them, and yet words also have a specific meaning and definition, right? So it's like this both and or problem. So I hear
Can I
you.
be fair? Can I be fair with you, Veritas? It seems like you're avoiding my question. It really does.
Well, restate it, please. I would
I dig the polite press.
Our ability to think,
Okay.
cognitive capacity, consciousness, were these things gifted to us by God?
We have access to God's energies. So yes, we have the ability to have knowledge, logic, reason, etc., etc. So
I think that was a fairly long answer to a fairly simple question.
What I just said is long?
Yep. Because it's a fairly simple. It's a fairly simple question,
Can
right?
you play that last 30 seconds again?
You want word answers for a nuanced question? Like I understand. Sorry, am I coming through? Sometimes I mute my mic.
Yeah, no, I think you were muted there.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, just a lot of the stuff, it's very doublespeak, like we have to have easier ways to use language so people can understand, but language also has a specific definition and meaning. So it's like you kind of want this both and or problem going on here. And to me, it just seems very ecumenistic, Rockefeller in a sense. And it's never going to work because we have a very specific theology and worldview. Once you move away towards that, you tend to fall into like lies and inconsistent theology. And then it kind of manifests itself into reality as we see nowadays.
But I think I did ask a fairly clear question.
Right, I know, but you're saying that words are, we got to dumb them down so people can understand them, and yet words also have a specific meaning and definition, right? So it's like this both and or problem. So I hear you.
Can I be fair with you, Veritas? It seems like you're avoiding my question. It really does.
Well, restate it, please. I would love to.
Our ability to think, cognitive capacity, consciousness, were these things gifted to us by God?
We have access to God's energies. So yes, we have the ability to have knowledge, logic, reason, etc., etc. So
I think that was a fairly long answer to a fairly simple question.
What I just said is long?
Yep. Because it's a fairly simple. It's a fairly simple question, right?
You want word answers for a nuanced question. Like I understand where you're getting with this here, and you just want quick, simple Bible verses So, whatever.
Okay. Well, let me come at it another way.
Okay.
Do our minds work different from animals' minds?
Yes.
How so?
We have free will. We have.
Veritas. Well, I want to remind you something real quick. Remember that thing that you were talking about earlier? Something that you said that you struggled with at times, that that you needed to work on.
Do you know what thing he's referring to?
You know what I'm talking about?
I
Me
hear
neither.
you. But
I
in
have no
terms
idea.
of
Okay, I just want to kind of like put that in the back of your head. I'm not saying anything.
So,
like,
I hear you going. So here's my argument. I will always assume 96 to 99% of people, if not more, have a theology that's inconsistent. So I have to rebuke that theology and show it's inconsistent.
he's telling you he doesn't even have a theology because he's very
Well,
new to understanding.
And I would also wonder where you come up with that percentage. Where do you arrive at 96 to 99 precisely?
So the path, the path to truth is narrow. So, anyways,
No. Hang on. You said 96 to 99%. I'm wondering where you get that statistic.
So as I said, the path is narrow. So, anyways, let me get back on point. I know you want to hammer on this point. So I would argue his theology is he has no theology. So
yeah,
that's
what he said. That's what he said from the beginning.
Right.
I'm new to this. I don't know anything. Please, understand I'm gonna fuck this up when I say this, but I'm trying to do it the best I can.
Yeah, right. So, so I'm showing him like, hey, this is like double speak. That's all. I'm just showing it's double speak. Right. He wants simple answers for a nuanced question. He doesn't like the answer. So that's all. I'm just trying to point that out.
I don't mind nuanced answers, but if I ask a question like, are our minds different than animal minds? That's a fairly simple question.
Yes, right? They are, because we're made in the image of God, not animals. Is that too long for you? What is too long for you? Right? This becomes subjective.
How precisely are they different?
Animals
that would take
are
a little
not
bit
made
longer.
in the image of God. Animals are not made in the image of God. So
I will drill into what that means.
Humans are made in the image of God. We have his likeness, or we have his image, but we lost his likeness. Animals do not have that.
Okay, so what do we have that they don't?
We don't participate in God's energies. They don't participate in God's essences. They don't participate in the image, the likeness. Animals are made for us to essentially use and to take care of in a good and holistic sense. They're essentially tools that should be used for what is good for God and us.
Sure. So we're not going to be long now because we're drilling into it. How would you recognize that in terms of cognitive ability? What would you look for?
Well, can animals talk? Can they convey information? Do they have logic? Do they have reason?
There are some studies that indicate that they can. However, let's just leave that aside. No. Let's just leave that aside.
I have studies over here that say no.
Let's grant that this is the privy of humanity. I ask you again, how would you recognize it?
Well, as I said,
speech? Is it only speech? Language?
Well, as I said, I have studies over here that tell me the opposite. So if we're going to start appealing to studies.
But he said let's just disregard the studies.
Okay. So why did he bring it up initially? To poison the well, I'm assuming, right?
You can trust me when I tell you I'm not going after your worldview here. I think we might agree in the end. So would you say things like music, art, philosophy, those things set us apart from animals? Would you agree with that?
I mean, the ability to do those things, like I would say that'll probably be one thing that like those are many like those few factors that can set us apart from animals.
That's right. They seem to be indicative of a cognitive process that has a purpose, a drive, a reason. So this is where I will go woo on all of you and tell you I think that perhaps that signature is on on existence, on reality as well. That's my position. I think that fingerprint is on reality. It seems to me that it is. The same thing that you see in a beautiful painting and a beautiful song, only on a massive, massive, incomprehensible scale. One that me personally, I can hardly touch, only recognize in glimpses and glances. That's my spiritual take right now, Glenn, and my answer to the question, what did you mean when you say you saw a purpose? That's my answer. So I think, Flo, you can probably cut it
Okay.
off there because it kind of.
How would you break that down to the individual?
So I see Bill Hicks is back. I'm glad that you're here, Bill Hicks. Okay, Joe, why don't you? Do you want to? What do you want to say about that before I start picking it up?
So once again, when we talk about stuff like this, we're discussing stuff that philosophers have been talking about for thousands of years. I mean, old Joe jumping on a panel isn't going to define God or reality to anybody's satisfaction. Here's a theory, though, that does encompass some of the Christian philosophies. There's room inside a theory like that for the Bible to be correct, and we talk about it later. There's room for truth. We keep coming back to this term truth and what that means. And I was really surprised by the reaction, by the resistance. And as you saw, the attempt to label over and over again. It's easy to say that this fellow was just doing this because that's his personality, but it's not. This is something that's extremely common when your views align closely. And I'm more interested in that piece. Why does it generate so much resistance? That's the question I have.
Well,
You're saying,
I mean,
oh, sorry, Flo.
you can go ahead.
Are you asking why he's not being more open-minded to the question?
Let's take it away from me and we'll talk. All of you know who Jordan Peterson is?
Yes.
Yes.
You know that all the Ortho boys go after him like crazy, eh?
I would assume they would like him.
Well, so would I. And when you ask why, they don't really have a good reason. And I think it's because some of what he's saying makes sense to them. And that makes it dangerous because there's another message out there, another path to God. So I'm wondering if we're talking about control or if we're talking about the one true path to God. One of the things that I asked Jim Bob directly, what is your issue with Jordan Peterson? Because he makes fun of him pretty steady. And Jim Bob said, it's because he claims the Bible is metaphorically true, not literally true. But that was the best he could kind of come up with. And it seems to me that's pretty thin.
Well, Jesus spoke in parables.
Yeah. So
I mean, literally, like metaphorically. So it's, isn't that, I mean, that's what a lot of the parables are, right? Like, it's like a metaphor, isn't it?
If Jesus spoke that way and you're Christian, then it would make sense to assume that the whole Bible, the Word of God, also could have that applied.
Yeah.
And I personally believe the Bible has some very deep metaphorical truths in it. But I know, and I spoke at the beginning with Glenn, I said some of the things that I say will be blasphemy. And that's part of what some religious people find blasphemous. I'm wondering why that much resistance. Is it because it makes little sense?
I think it makes too much sense. That's why they insist that it doesn't make sense. That's why if you see the comment on screen again, Bill Hicks, after I said several times, hang around, I'm glad you're here, da 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 da, why he doesn't have time for it all of a sudden, right when we're about to get into it. They know it makes sense.
Yeah, and I'm going to say that comment is disingenuous. I'm sorry, I don't like to be that way, but I believe that is frustration and an inability to really contend with another train of thought that's being put forward, and it's uncomfortable, especially if you've devoted your life to a certain way of life, I suppose. Like in my opinion, once again, blasphemy, but a lot of organized religion can fall into the same traps as bureaucracies do. They're run by human beings. They have to be. That doesn't mean that they're terrible, but it does mean that there are errors and they're fallible. And this is where we run into trouble with our interpretation of God, in my opinion.
If you are looking for, if you're religious, so this is, I've said before, I think I view people who are, I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this without, because I'm not trying to attack anybody, but I view religion more akin to being a fan of a certain sports team than actually trying to find God. And
there's that issue.
Well, I mean,
sorry, Flo, I cut you.
No, it's good. I'm sort of meandering around. There's because they come into conflict in this exact situation. If you're following God, right, like the actual God, then that will be the truth, right? You would have no concern about exploring any number of topics because you are in the right. It's only when you suspect that you're in the wrong, but you prioritize your group adherence more.
And then are you pursuing truth or are you pursuing something else? So, hey, is there any way you could highlight it? Is there any way you could highlight a comment for me, Flo? Because whoever this Adrian A. Payne is made a comment that I think is pretty insightful. So he says, don't think like me, learn like me. And there's a lot in a statement like that. This curiosity that is our humanity, right? That's what drives us. We're not chat GBT machines or calculators or computers that recite stuff. We're actively learning and actively growing. That's what makes the human experience great. I believe we all love learning new stuff. So I would like to thank this fellow I'm assuming fellow, I apologize, for his comment. Thank you.
But even at that, like, your religious journey, it, boils down to your relationship with God. And, that is always kind of like subject to interpretation to a degree. But I mean, but it's, comes with guidelines to help get you to the right place and with the right meaning and intention. So I understand the sports team concept, but like, we're all trying to get the goalpost, right? Like, we're all trying to score and win in the game. And of course we want our team to win, but our personal journey throughout that game, or cheering on that team per se, is very individualized as well, and that's the big piece of believing in God and Jesus Christ and your journey to him per se.
So if I was to say that my life goal is to seek the truth, is there anything blasphemous or wrong or immoral about that? Is that a good goal?
I think it's a good goal.
Speak the truth. Yeah, I don't think that's a bad goal.
So what if I were to engage in practices that disrupted that goal or even disrupted it for others? What if I were to interfere in others' search for truth by how I reacted to them when they expressed that? I would be very worried about that.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I think if he wanted to share and teach, for instance, for you, because you were coming at it with some pretty genuine questions and you weren't being, a jerk about it or anything like that. And in that moment, that could have been a really good point for him to, instead of getting defensive, actually sharing his belief with you and explaining it a little bit differently, um, to a way that will help me understand, kind of thing. um, I think when people are asking questions, they're seeking answers, and everybody thinks everybody's coming in with some kind of hidden agenda all the time. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. When you look at the discussion in terms of how people react to it, which is a fascinating piece, like even reading Bill's comments, it's interesting how far we will go and how we'll attach ourselves to a team or a guru. And to me, I don't know if that's all that productive anymore. I can see where that served a purpose, but I see so much of it, and I'm not sure that it's the way forward for us as a species to really focus on this tribalism. I mean, we've all seen people who ignore truth for their friends or will lie for them or whatever the case may be.
Well, it's not a godlike manner to be that way to begin with. Like, God wants you to come to him on your own free will. He wants you to yearn for him. So in your journey to finding that, if you're finding the truth in all sorts of different places and it inevitably leads to you yearning for him, like he already knows that that's your path to him anyways. We all understand and interpret things and have experiences very differently from each other. We're unique. So I think I see where you're going with that, but I would say that, like, yeah, you're seeking the truth, but inevitably God is the truth. So if you're seeking you know, at the end of the day, that's where you would come, where you would end up.
Yes, and well, this is my grounding philosophy, is that God is the truth, objective truth. This is what
Right.
I've always said. Do you think there are circumstances where individuals or religious organizations may intentionally obscure that search in order to preserve power, in order to pursue very human interests?
Absolutely.
I could definitely see that. Yeah.
How common do you think it is? I mean, I'm not going to be like my interlocutor and say a statistic like 96 to 99, because that's pretty. But I wonder what percentage of our motives are not necessarily all that holy.
As humans as general,
Yeah,
I mean,
like how. Go
I
ahead.
think that our priority is ourself, and I think actually it should be ourself, because just logistically, if you're dead, you can't do any good for anybody. It's just out of the excess that you're able to help others. So I don't even think that that's a bad thing, to a point, right? There's balance with everything.
So you would say self-preservation would be a moral form of behavior by anyone's standards?
Correct.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And that's
So
the same thought
Well,
as why
part of, sorry, I'm so sorry, Flo.
you're good.
Part of self-preservation though is still seeking God, because you need you need God for that nourishment in like, not physical nourishment but spiritual nourishment. If you're not good with God, then like, what's it matter anyways?
If you're at a juncture like probably Bill Hicks was or has been or something, I don't know, the last 2 days, if you're at a juncture where your existing paradigm and the dogma that created it is in conflict with something new that you've discovered or something new that you've realized, like a self-contradiction. However, if truth is conflicting with tradition, what would God want you to do? If you chose, obviously, I think we all agree that God would want you to follow truth. And if your response then, in order to be loyal to a dogma or religion or your own understanding error, is to ignore truth in service of something else, what is it that you're in service of?
that's an excellent question.
And I think that go ahead if you got any thoughts on that. I'm going to build on it if not. Okay. I think that if we're trying to decide what is truth and we're left to decide between, let's say, logic and dogma, and I've used the example of the Trinity a lot. One can't be three. It doesn't make sense. And we're trying to follow God. If God gave us, which one did God give us? God gave us our brains, right? So why then would you distrust God by distrusting logic in favor of the dogma that was given to you by somebody else? I think that is also, you could say, it's blasphemous in a way.
What is dogma?
Dogma is tradition or religious standards, right? Like,
okay. Okay, can you repeat that question then? Sorry.
Yeah, if you have to choose between believing your own mind or what's told, or someone else's mind, basically, which do you believe? I think God gave us the reason or the ability to reason, and so it would only make more sense to trust that over just accepting what somebody else has told you, somebody else's reasoning. And I view religion. I mean, that is what religion is. And I'm not saying that necessarily means it's wrong, but it was not our own thinking. It was told to us by somebody else. So, but God didn't give us their experiences or their brain. He gave us our brain.
Yeah.
So what might you do if your logic and reason, if you were in charge of a system where you had to control people's actions, However, their own individual logic and reasoning was a threat to you because they may come to a decision that may not support your hierarchy. What kind of things might you say about their logic and reason?
Can you start that question over again? The cat
Well,
was bitching at me to get out the door.
Okay, I'll try and be more focused. It's possible that if logic and reason are a way that we can make good decisions around objective reality, and making decisions around objective reality might threaten a certain power structure, you might turn around and tell the individuals in your congregation or your organization or your group, don't use your own individual logic. You can't trust us, trust us. We're the experts. Now, have we heard that before?
Oh,
We-
I see. I understand what you're saying now. So that's actually very helpful. Well, I think. Sorry, Flo. I don't know if you were going to answer that.
You're good. You're good. Go ahead.
Cut you off. I'm so sorry. So I think that at the end of the day, like, you have to know in your heart whether something's right or wrong, or if it sounds right or wrong, and I understand the idea of, okay, my priest told me to XYZ, therefore it must be right. But that's also where your, like, Bible study, going to church, reading the Bible yourself, having conversations such as this, because that does promote your ability, kind of what you were saying earlier, to seek that truth, right? And in your yearning to get closer to God, like, he will provide the answers to you. He always does. When you're asking the question, he'll provide the answer in ways you cannot expect or anticipate, but he'll always ensure either the right person's in your path or the right reading comes about or things like that. So I think that, yes, there can be a sense of kind of like a pushback to like a hierarchy of the traditions or things that are being done or said. Stop, Nix. And I think that you can have that, but with that pushback will also come better answers too, and more descriptions and more explanations thereof that might help you understand and interpret the information better, the way you can apply it, to your relationship with God.
But Sarah, I think there are organizations out there, and if I'm misrepresenting Orthodox, anyone that's out there that understands it, please correct me.
I'm not, so I can't speak to that.
But there are some church organizations that say don't rely on your logic. They will say that quite clearly. Rely on the church authorities, rely on your church fathers to make these decisions. Take their guidance in what you say. And this is where we wind up with theories like the earth is 6,500 years old or something like that, and people don't question them. And those are some mainstream people now. Like, that's becoming more mainstream. So there's a danger in that. What I'm pointing to is the resistance that we see may be more insidious and more widespread and maybe doing more damage than we initially think it does.
Oh, I agree with that, and I think it's massively widespread, and it's always. I mean, it's always somebody who tells you not to think is telling you that because they don't bother to tell you that when your thinking aligns with them. They're only telling you to do that when your own thoughts would conflict with what they're telling you. They want you to accept what they're telling you without any resistance. That's never, I can't think of one time when that's in your own best interest, and it's not a predatory move.
Isn't that like living in China or something?
Don't think, just trust me. I mean, I don't know who does that besides religions, cults, like gaslighter. It's a form of narcissistic abuse, really, if you want to go down that road.
Yeah, but
And
it's power seeking is what it is.
Drug
I don't
dealers.
think a church should be that way. I mean, because again, God wants you to come to him. He wants you to find your answers to him and establish your relationship on your own with him. Now, again, you have tools and resources like such as the church to get there, but I don't feel like that, just based off, this is just my interpretation. But if he wants you to yearn for him, like, he doesn't want it to be force fed. He doesn't want it to be like, no free will thinking kind of concepts. Like, he wants you to go out. It's like, what's that group? Is it the Amish or maybe the Mormons or something, where you like leave and then come back, and like you can choose to come back?
Rumspringer.
Yeah,
Huh?
that's right. Yeah.
So
Rumspringer.
yeah, so like if you're doing like he or the what's the story of the son, the prodigal son? Like he left and he came back. He went out and he failed and he came back. Like God recognizes it's okay to go and fail, and it's okay to not necessarily don't necessarily do the wrong things, but it's okay to fail and make mistakes and come back, like continue trying to find him. You might take 2 steps back and 1 step forward every time, but at least you're still trying to go forward. And
So
I don't think it falls under like a no free thinking. I think if a church is teaching it that way, I don't feel like that's the interpretation. But I'm not a
Well,
priest. I'm not a clergy of any sort, so I'm not speaking with authority.
and most, I think clergy, I mean, people who are in those positions have enough self-awareness that they're not going to explicitly say that to your face, but there are Bible verses that say essentially that thing. And that is the impact. That's the way it is mobilized in religion mostly. It's especially visible in the ortho bros running around these YouTube streets.
Well, Glenn mentioned something that was quite prescient, I think. He said that orthodoxy is attractive to a lot of young men because of the hierarchy that it reinstates. Gives young men meaning that they've kind of lost in a modern sense with liberalism and some of the changes that we've seen around. I don't even know how to label the movement, but it seems to me orthodoxy really does subscribe to quite the male is the head of the household. Women have basically very little purpose other than to have children. And I don't know if you guys want to chime in if I'm understanding it correctly or not.
I don't know enough to speak to it. I haven't studied it. I barely even knew it was a thing. So I don't. I won't even offer a thought process on that.
That seems that seems correct from what I've seen. I didn't, my whole life, I think I knew one family of Greek Orthodox, um, until, Andrew Wilson and they entered sort of my awareness, and now it seems like they're everywhere. So, I mean, that makes sense. It does seem like it's a resistance or a reaction to the feminism, the progressive woke, da 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 da, which does need to be, it's that shit's all worthy of pushback. But I think that, again, this isn't necessarily a criticism, but for me, it seems that it's an overcorrection, right? You go from one overcorrection to another overcorrection. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
and
right.
I think you're right too, Flo. I think orthodoxy provides a very concrete, conceivable conception around what the world is. What is my role? My role is the head of the household. Who tells me what to do? The church fathers do. Who tells them what to do? It's God. They're listening directly to God, and they're then giving me guidance. And that's sometimes very attractive to people who are lost, who are trying to find their way. My concern is, what if the message is not entirely accurate? What mistakes might we see? Might we see people behaving in a way that may not be that holy in the end? That would be the concern.
Well, it's I one thought process just based off of what you're saying, and again, I don't know the religion enough, but I wouldn't want people to follow me just because I tell them to, and I tell them this is, you know, like I'd want them to follow me because they want to, because I've explained to them our goal and our purpose, and they are choosing to follow me. And just like this is going to be a really corny comparison, but just like having subscribers on YouTube, like they can choose to come and go as they please. They can choose if the content is right or wrong. They can choose if it's good or bad. They can choose if it's entertaining or if it's I'm just absolutely terrible. So I think that, like, if you're telling people like you have to do it this way and you have to do it that way, and um Oh no, did we lose him?
Oh, I'm sure he'll be back.
Oh, I just feel like it's a little sheepish in a sense if you're kind of force feeding only information you want them to have and not allowing the idea of like allowing them to kind of wander a little bit.
Yeah, I mean it speaks to the type of what you're wanting out of the person. I think if you don't want them to think for themselves or you don't want them to have that autonomy, like it means that, I mean, that is not a relationship. Back to the point, I think you
Right.
were saying that you're supposed to have your own relationship with God. If you're not allowed to have any other to do anything else, then that's not a relationship. That's
Right, because like just the same as like a husband and wife, like those two people are coming to like two are becoming one. You're choosing to be with that person. You're choosing to work continuously on the relationship. You're choosing to stay. Whereas if like you have the free will to leave at any time. Nobody's saying you have to stay, but you are choosing to continuously work on that relationship. That's the only like other way I can think of it.
real quick, kind of a little bit of a tangent maybe, but Joe, I feel like I heard a lot of familiar talking points. Were you pulling on a bit of the new agnosticism movement, as you've coined my perspective?
Sorry, you cut out for a sec there. So
Were,
can you say
were,
that
were there
again?
some new agnosticism talking points that I heard in there? And for
Yeah,
those who don't
well,
know, new agnosticism movement, I think that's what you called it, is what Joe kind of referred to my perspective on these things is.
yes, Flo's new agnostic movement, I think, is quite something we should explore, especially around curiosity and learning, and around agnosticism being the only honest, real honest perspective. Anything else would be a little bit presumptuous. But I think there's a couple things we have to put in there. First of all, we can't use our curiosity unless Flo tells us. We have
That's
to
true.
that kind of thing. No,
Yeah.
the new
Also,
agnosticism movement.
hold on. Sarah said just a minute ago where you're at that she wants people to be able to come and go as they please. I would say that within Flo's new agnosticism, you can come only when I tell you to, and you can never leave.
You're
That's right.
such an idiot.
That's right.
Is that what the memberships are? You're stuck. Like once you get a membership, you're stuck forever.
Exactly.
Here's the quick tangent, Flo. So you're up over 1,000 members right now, eh?
Correct.
What is the most you've ever been at?
As far as members,
Yeah.
Last night I think I was at 1,023.
And that's the most you've ever seen in the history of your channel?
As far as members, yes.
Wow.
Yeah. By quite a margin. I've never I don't think I'd ever gotten past 800 before yesterday.
Well, Chuck was lighting it up there last night. That was insane.
Man. I was about to retire the rest of the month.
Have we pretty much exhausted the conversation and covered the things that you wanted to cover?
Yeah, mostly. I mostly wanted to get, I was gonna listen to it again anyways on my own. I figured that if you were interested in joining, I wouldn't mind hearing your thoughts on it. And while I do that, and everybody else can watch if they want to. So you're free to go anytime. You're free to hang around. I'm gonna kind of ramble around. Sarah's free to do the same. But
Are you
Perfect.
sure we have free will to do that? I thought.
Yeah, well,
I just gave you permission, so it's
this is
not.
like
Don't
Hotel
take it as
California over here.
don't take it as free will. No. We're not going that far.
Notice I was careful to ask permission too. So just another question, Flo. What is the engagement like on this stream? Are there a few people in the chat? Like how many people are
There's
watching?
we're at 40 right now. So it's less than usual. It's interesting because there's a decent chunk of people who much prefer, here's one of them, who much prefer this sort of more serious conversation, but it also is not the lowest common denominator. So it's a bit lower than normal, as I would expect. Everybody can enjoy, me teabagging somebody, I think, but not everybody really wants to engage their brain.
Isn't it sad? Like I noticed the same thing too. Like anytime I have a serious stream, where it's like like good talking point, but not dramatic and crazy. Like your numbers kind of ride in the average to lower average number. But then if you have like total degeneracy on your screen, it's like over 100 people easy.
And that's what I was gonna point out to the audience. I know, because I know that people watching this are probably the ones I'm talking about. The viewership is a little bit lower on this sort of stuff, but the revenue is dramatically lower, like way insanely lower.
Yeah. You
so
don't get super chats saying like "shut this moron up" or like anything like
right,
that.
right. So it's just worth throwing out there for people who don't like the drama and do like this sort of stuff, like Nachiketa.
Yep, I do not like the drama. Hello, everybody. Hi, Flo, Sarah, Ojo.
Hello.
Hi.
Did you catch any of the video we just reviewed, or are you just showing up?
I just kind of showed up. I came from another panel that I was invited. I was with Andreas, and there were like 8 people in the panel, and then I didn't get even one word in. So I was like, okay, well, thanks for the invite, but I think I'm gonna go now.
So,
but no, yeah, go ahead.
Well, we just reviewed something from last night or I guess this morning, where old Joe was having a discussion on a different panel, and it sounds like he's getting a little bit antsy. But Joe is kind of a hit and run panelist.
Okay.
Oh fuck, I just lost my question because I had one I wanted to throw out before I lost, and now it's gone.
Take your time. I'm not too antsy.
I am. Figure it out.
Do you want me to review the claim I made in one sentence, Flo, so everybody knows?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
The claim I made about God is that objective reality is actively thinking around us. That's the claim I made, and that represents God.
And by what do you mean thinking? I mean, could you explain that a little more?
Yeah, there seems to be, like I talked about on the stream, and once again, to try and describe these things, easily attackable theory, right? But there seems to be a flow to the fabric of reality that to me resembles the flow that we recognize in coherent thought, in refined thought. So if you see somebody stumbling down the sidewalk whose thought process is confused, maybe suffering from mental illness or whatever, you can recognize that from a long ways away. You can also recognize generally somebody that's well put together and thinking, or somebody that's good at the task that they're applying themselves to. There seems to be commonalities between that and the fabric of reality that surrounds us. That's the
What would you call that state?
I would call it the flow state. That's what I would call it.
Yeah. And real quick, Crush 'em Good, thank you for the $5 super sticker. I appreciate the support and the vote for this type of content. So it's not to go ahead if you got another thought, because where I'm going might be a little different direction, but it's on the same thing. But
yeah, well, no, my question is, how does one come to recognize, like this objective state of thought? Like, obviously there's got to be some recognition to it to say that somebody is incoherent or whatever, and then somebody is like a little bit more put together, as you were putting it, old Joe. So I'm just trying to understand, like, who becomes I don't know, an arbiter of that, the individual, I guess, right?
That's a good question. So you're not asking me specifically about objective reality. You're asking me how I recognize the coherency and the pattern in the thinking. Is that accurate? Sir. Okay. So I think, like the example I used about somebody that maybe have a confused thought process, and maybe not even somebody that has mental illness or mental health problems. It could be somebody who's depressed. These things tend to have a look to them that we recognize universally. We recognize them even in animals. If somebody is thinking clearly, if somebody is pursuing a goal, we recognize it at work, at school. We can tell which people are really good at their jobs for the most part. And we can probably walk onto a job site and look and see those that are struggling. even if we're not familiar with those tasks. I would make that argument. I watched once a video where a person was using an ancient loom. You could tell they were very skilled with this loom. So that's what I'm saying. There is a look to coherent, focused thought that seems to have a pattern we can recognize. And it's very much like trying to define the word civilization. When you think about it, how do you define civilization? Very hard term to define. However, we can recognize it usually when we see it. Is that a sufficient answer?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, I understand where you're coming from. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around this idea about God as being an objective. What was the exact term that you used? Thought that is permeating around this. Is that
Well,
something to that effect?
yeah. The theory that I started with was that God, in and of himself, was objective reality. So when we touch
Hmm.
objective reality, we touch God. That's the theory I began working with. And when I
Hmm.
started
Hmm.
that, it was like objective reality is a static set of rules, the rules of physics, mathematics, biology, the laws of gravity, the laws of logic. But as I think more about it, it seems to be more of a flow to it. There seems to be a movement to it. And that's where, in my mind, it seemed to engender a vision of a thought process that's taking place, an active thought process that resembles the one that goes on in our minds. That's an easily attackable one because I've put enough detail in there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Go
if
ahead.
that's, I was gonna say, if you describe, so if that's God, which you didn't say that explicitly, but if that is God, then how would, then back to the made in God's image, what would the made in God's image piece be? Because I think that we're made in God's image in the way of creativity, that we are creators in this universe.
Oh, that's a really good thought. I like that.
Yeah. And I think it actually goes, I've got enough foot in the woo-woo kind of new age shit that I think our beliefs create the reality around us. And so that would be, and I also believe that that's what faith is referring to in the Bible, is the confidence in what the future will hold, not so much in trust this guy that I've never met. But yeah, I think that we co-create our existence, our reality. We're made in God's image to that extent, in a way that animals do not do at all.
So that's an interesting thought with the creativity piece. So if you recognize a fine piece of art or a building that's been well constructed, that's humanity, that's human creativity, right? I think you can see that signature on the fabric of reality itself. That exact same signature, I believe, is present in the reality that surrounds us. That's the point I'm making.
Well,
We share that.
I mean, God made the animals first naturally, but he specifically made man to govern the animals, to watch over them. Like, you wouldn't leave a 3-year-old to watch a 1-year-old, right? So he had to give us some type of hierarchy above the animals. So it's not to say that animals and us don't have similarities. For instance, I mean, we have natural instincts. We do have some type of emotional intelligence higher than theirs, but they do still have some kind. But then additionally, there's that uh, like the ability to think to some degree, but I think that God specifically put humans above animals for a reason. Like, we're here to tend to them, to watch them, to eat them, but to shepherd over them. So, like, he put us above them to begin with.
Is that your Panda Express I hear in the background?
Oh yeah, Artie. She's stuck downstairs. She knows how to open the gate, and she's just being a fat, lazy little turd right now. Like, she wants to come upstairs. She knows how to do it. But if I had a treat in my hand, she'd get her ass up here real quick.
Yeah, sometimes I have a hard time trying to like define God, because like it's like to say that this is God and like objective reality is God and non-objective reality or subjective reality is like not God kind of thing. But as human beings, we have our limitations of how we interpret this reality, and we are kind of like Venn diagrams. We meet where we can, and we use language to communicate these ideas. But we are somewhere between like subjective. We have our subjective realities, and we believe that we might have some objective realities. But that's a kind of a hard thing, at least in my mind, to try to figure out like how we are objective. And like you can say, well, like mathematics is pretty objective, or physics is pretty objective and stuff like this. But there's still a lot of avenues of like unfoldment that's happening in those departments there. So like the way I look at it, I'm not trying to play any kind of gotcha games or anything, but like just to lay it out the way I conceive quote unquote God is that God is the creator of all things. So all things that is crazy and not crazy and absolutely insane to the sane seems to be kind of an expression of God's creation, at least in my mind.
Yeah, and you make a good point about objective reality. I believe, like you, that we are like Venn diagrams, and in those areas of commonality that may be more evidence to touching objective reality. I think if you look at it like looking at a penny at the bottom of a pool, the water in between the bottom of the pool and the top is our worldview, and it obscures objective reality. I don't think that we have the ability to perceive it directly, so we have to chase it using our logic, using discussion, using mathematics, science, all of those tools.
Right. Yeah. And therein lies the real issue, I guess, as far as I see it, is that I don't necessarily believe any one of us or anyone I have ever met is absolutely objective. It's kind of like, obscured by this subjectivity and our own biases and thoughts. And there are some traditions like, in India here, I live in India, and, these like Patanjali Yoga Sutras, they would talk about how actually our goal is to get rid of thoughts entirely, which they call it chit. But like to get to that point, you have to be very, very disciplined, because everything that we're engaged in right now is based on thought and thinking, right? And then there's limitation to that, because it colors our perspective of how we perceive reality.
No, I agree with that. Do you think there's any possibility that that same process, so you mentioned everything that we're engaged in right now is based on thought and thinking. Do you think there's any possibility that process is taking place on a far, far vaster scale by a thinking mind vaster than ours?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I know God exists, but to be able to express that to others is how would I say, is almost an impossible task. And either people get to that point of, let's say, similar comprehension, but like again, like when we talk about God, it becomes already a problem of discussion, because like then we have to start defining terms, because we use language and we use words, and then these words have meaning, and for the most part we have an understanding. Like I know what hunger is, I know what being thirsty and etc. And hundreds of thousands of words that we most commonly use. But then when we get into these nuances of what it means to be what it means to have like an enlightenment, or what it means to be God, or things like that, then we are all over the place as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, so I personally have a notebook of labels beside me that I use constantly, academic labels.
Hmm.
I'm just kidding. I'm making a joke.
Do you? Okay. I mean, you don't.
That was a joke.
Like, okay, it was like a mediocre joke. It was mediocre.
Well, that's mediocre based on the response it got.
It was. I mean, I think it's fascinating how many people. Does anybody here take notes on people? Sarah, do you take notes on people?
Why the fuck would I take notes, you weirdo?
Because you're a creep.
I want to see what kind of folders you got on everyone.
Oh, I don't have any No, I don't take notes. I have some screenshots and some screen recordings. But
you take mental notes. You take mental notes.
Absolutely, I take mental notes.
Okay, what are your?
It's not any different
on all of us?
On all of you?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't disclose
my
mental
Sarah,
notes.
come on.
All right, come on.
Come on, Sarah.
I'm trying to
plead the fifth.
You got to prove it.
You're right. I don't take any mental notes. My brain is completely empty and hollow. It's smooth as a marble. About the same size too.
Hey, did you see that other picture I sent you?
No, I did not.
I made a whole new one just based on your request.
Oh, you made one. Okay, let me
Yeah.
see it.
I
If
know.
you
Funny.
you mean you took one or you made one?
I made one. I told you
Okay.
I'm not putting myself in rumor territory of stupidity.
You never get in rumor territory
I-
unless you put
well,
yourself there.
well,
Lindsay.
yeah, well,
What?
flow state. Yeah, you had an experience with that, I guess. But we don't need to
Yeah, but that
rehash
wasn't
that.
by my
You know.
that wasn't at my
Well,
discretion.
I know,
didn't,
I know,
I
I
didn't
know.
even
I'm not
acknowledge
trying.
them until the third time she brought them up.
What
It's
happened?
all good. It's.
You
I
missed the whole.
apologize for
You
bringing
missed the
it.
whole
Yeah,
Lindsay
yeah.
thing. She just said, "What happened?"
I always miss the good stuff.
Man, this was like a whole week of shit.
No,
I'll send you
no.
some links. You can. Yeah, I don't.
Woohoo.
Is
I don't
that
need,
is that over now, Flo? Are
she's
you done
I'm
probably
not
with
gonna
it?
get
watching
into
right
it.
now. I mean, let's be real. She's probably watching right now. So I don't.
Hate watching.
Ooh, watching from the
Or
cloud.
something.
Hate watching.
I don't know if
I said
that's
hate
what
watching.
I don't know
I
if that's
don't
what I'd
think it's
properly
hate
call it.
watching. I call it watching from the clouds. And that's okay too. I like people that
Lurking.
do that because they're keeping up with me, you know, just like they're keeping up with you.
Yep.
I lurk. I like to lurk. You know, it's like it's the best way. I don't have to acknowledge anybody in the chat, and then I just listen to what all the good stuff is going on, and then just move on and pretend like I was never there.
Yeah. I'm not much of a lurker, honestly, because I'm more of an attention whore than a lurker, and so I like to, I drop the rock on emoji, and then people are like, "Oh, what's up, flow state?" And I'm like, "Yay, there's my fix."
I've been validated with attention. Woohoo!
Or the eggplant. I think the eggplant is more common than the hand signal, right?
Toxic Angel, did you email me? You didn't. I want you to email me so that you can come up here. I don't want to drop the link though, because I just, after yesterday, I did 10 and a half hours of streaming or so. I don't know. I don't feel like I've got you know what? Fuck it. Do you guys have
make money?
My brain is now kind of
Mush.
derailed.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. That was my
It's
fault.
not even you. It was actually it might have been you. It might have been you.
Listen, that's what women do. We destroy the whole conversation. We derail everything, and we, mess it all up. That's what we do.
No.
I have
No,
dropped.
no,
I
I
have
don't know
dropped
about
the
that.
link for anybody who wants to join. But before I bring anybody up, Old Joe, I invited you here. I want to get your thoughts flushed out on this topic. So, is there anything else you have or think or want to cover or hit on before I, let it go?
I think that we covered it fairly well. It was a fairly interesting discussion, in my opinion.
I think so too. Do you think that I should invite Andrew to debate the agnosticism is the only right way?
Well, I think you should, but I would, if you did that, I would press in on his beliefs, because what's going to happen is you're going to wind up defending. If you notice, he goes on the attack, right? And
Yeah.
I would press into the stuff that we've talked about. How do you know what you believe is correct? How do you know
Right.
that your what do they call it now? Apostolic succession. How do you know that's correct? Were you there to see it? I've seen them dismantle people talking about biology and geology by saying, well, you didn't actually see the rocks age 2 million years or whatever the case. I would ask questions like that and keep it in his ballpark.
Yeah.
What is it? Prove what you're saying is true. That's what I would do if I debated him. And I think
Well, and if you look at just the premises that of the two sides of that debate, like I don't even have really a positive position to build, but I am familiar with the ask question, and make the other side continue to validate their positions tactic.
Yes, and so an individual that was famous for that, who you can watch in advance, is a fellow named Matthew Dillahunty. I actually don't like his debate style, but it's highly effective. He is the guy that debated Andrew too, so you might want to watch that debate. But I think, Flo, that'd be fascinating. I think you should invite him on and have a debate on your channel around new agnosticism.
This would be hilarious.
Well, I've debated now Jim Bob on it twice. I mean, not formal, just on his channel, and even though it's his channel, and I don't demand any. How did you feel like those went? I feel content that
I think, Flo, you said something fairly revealing. I think at some point, in order to be polite, you let off the gas. Is that accurate?
yes.
So if you were to have it happen on your channel, I wouldn't let off the gas. I would be prepared to take it right to a finish. Because you don't want to, there's something about debating people's religious beliefs that seems almost rude, if you push in hard enough. And I think there's room for that, though. And I think those guys like that. They enjoy it. Maybe Jim Bob would come on if Andrew wouldn't.
I've invited Jim Bob over before. I haven't done it in a while, but I tagged him.
Andrew seems to be on panels every night, and small panels with like 20, 15 viewers. He might come on if you invited him.
Well, he's been on before.
Can I moderate?
He came on and one time, and everybody kind of went after him.
Yeah, everybody went into attack the big guy mode, but he was playing back. So I just let it go.
It might be better focused if it was just you and him.
Certainly.
And you could have Glenn moderate.
No, have me moderate.
Well, hang on now, because then you could. I was going to go into a whole parody of the Based situation, but I'm not going to.
We should probably avoid
Based is trying to get me now that he's confused the shit out of the Andrew Wilson debate. He's trying to coax me into a bare knuckle fight, like the one I tried to get Paul and Snafu into with me.
Bare knuckle? No way.
Oh boy.
Man.
Or no, he said boxing. I tried to get Snafu or Paul and Slave to bare knuckle fight me, and they wouldn't. On was it Street Beefs? I think is the channel's name. It's a big channel. And they have yeah. And
where would the closest one to you be? Would you go to the Seattle one or the other one?
I think it was in Virginia. I would, and I was absolutely dead ass serious about it. And actually, the offer still stands. But I told my response to Base Oracle is that I'm not making any plans with him.
Well, and if you agreed to something like that with him, don't make it boxing, make it MMA, because he used to box. And that I could tell you, get into the ring with somebody who's boxed before, and it's not a fun night at all.
Yeah, no, and I'm not a boxer. I was in my freshman year of college. I was in the dorms with a guy who was a boxer on the U.S. Olympic team and stuff. Mike Lee, he was in Subway commercials and shit back then. But he tried to teach me how to box a little bit there. But at that point, I'd already learned how to fight and like just kind of a grimy street fight sort of way. And I just didn't like in learning things.
So what is it? Why is Base trying to get you in the ring?
Well, Base likes to fuck with people. I don't know if you've noticed. And I suspect, I can't prove this, but it is my suspicion that it's just my turn for some of the Based Oracle chaos, I suspect. But
really,
there he is. There he is.
Say his name 3 times, he shows up on panel.
I know. And I did drop the link already, and here is Toxic Angel. What's the word on RBR?
Okay, so I've been following RBR for a while, and I have a group of people who know him really well. It has been confirmed he passed away. Cyber, who is one of his partners that goes on his channel, he did attend his funeral, and so it's been confirmed that that RBR passed away. And I know well, there was some things going around that he went anemic, and he's been having some serious medical problems recently.
I think he had cancer, didn't he? Did he have cancer?
I'm not exactly sure. I just know that Cyber attended his funeral. So,
okay.
I know that he came off as really racist on his channel, but he was golden, as you told me once before. Rather people, took offense to the things he said, or just considered it a level of trolling that he was doing, which that's what I think he was doing. He was classically funny and made great memes. and I'm really bummed that he's gone, as is another group that I've known a long time.
Yeah, I'm bummed too. It's too bad. He was great, and rest in peace to RBR. He was definitely racist, but
yeah, he was.
But he was fair, I guess. Like he, Cyber is the one who kept blocking me on his channel. It wasn't even RBR. RBR would let me on.
Yeah, Cyberblow.
Where do you find this shit?
Um,
I gotta ask, Flow State, are you like, do you have a magnet for like lunatics?
Answer.
Yep. I tried to get RBR to be my.
I must be a lunatic.
You are. You live in the mountains in India.
I'm not gonna lie, Flow State. The first time I ever came over and started watching your channel, I was like, "This looks like the deep dark YouTube that you."
That makes me a lunatic.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It was
Okay.
like I was like purely drunk when I hopped in panel, but I was like, whatever. They might kill me, but it works.
There are a lot of people who you'd be surprised about, like content creators and shit too. Not even shy people who just watch, but there are a ton of people who say that they watch me, but my panels are intimidating. And I guess I get it. I'm not necessarily nice, and there's a lot of.
I don't think
You're
it was
so
in-
laid back, and the way you dealt with Angel last night was really well.
Thank you.
I don't want to say this in a bad way, but does he have a mental disability?
He's autistic.
Yeah, he's a sweetheart.
Yeah.
I got that one.
At least from my panel, you know.
You tried so hard last night, Flo, to try to help him, and it's probably part of that autism that made him so argumentative.
Yeah. Well, he's making it. His point was a principled one, which I understand. There's an unfairness there, but my point was a pragmatic one, and he'll get it or he won't. But
I'm sorry to be the. Oh, go ahead, Based.
Yeah, could I just pragmatically answer old Joe real quick? So I don't know why Flo keeps offering to box me. He brought up something about how Michael Sartain had threatened to break my jaw and then back down once I said, all right, let's do it. So maybe Flo took that as some kind of opening offer invitation. I'm not really sure on that. We could ask Flo sometime. Probably not tonight.
He knocked some fool's 4 teeth out because he said nice shirt, and the dude wanted to be a jerk to him about it.
well, I apologize first because I didn't mean for him to take it so personally and tried to squash it. But he was big and drunk and a Raiders fan. And
did he throw blows at you first?
Yeah, he threw the first punch.
And then you just cleaned his clock.
I saw it coming. He connected, but just barely. And I was ready for him. Yeah. Because when my daughter was born, and I've mentioned this a lot of times, when my daughter was born, I used to get in a lot of fights when I was younger, just sort of recreationally. I was one of those guys. And then when my daughter was born, I made some rules for myself. I would avoid violence if at all possible, and if not possible, I would end it as efficiently as possible.
Yeah.
And the thought was that I have the right to risk my life on stupid shit, but I don't have the right to risk her dad's life on stupid shit.
Yeah. And I thought it was funny what you told me yesterday. Well, I tried to pick up his teeth before the cops got there, and I was like, oh, you're helping him out. You're like, no, I was going to build a necklace. Getting Flow State.
So, Flo, what percentage of the time do you think that when you were recreationally fighting that you threw the first punch or first whatever, maybe kick? I don't know if you kicked.
Half. Probably half.
Is that because you sometimes you got to throw the first punch because you could be in danger if you don't?
It's because I don't. A lot of people will say like, you should wait. You can defend yourself, but you should never attack. And I guess my morals aren't built that way. If something's obviously going down, I'm okay with being the first one to make that move.
Yeah, when you know there's no getting out of it, it's time to make the first
Or
move.
even if there is, like, I mean, and this is I'm speaking for old me. New me doesn't do that sort of shit. But
Yeah.
there was a while there where I would try to pick a fight with the biggest guy at whatever party I was at.
Oh shit. Is that the young you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a young
The young flow state. Don't fuck with him. What are you, 6'2"?
almost just
Oh,
not.
that would explain a lot.
Well, I'm not that big. And actually back then I was probably not even 6 foot. Sometime between 20, because I quit measuring myself at 21, which is when I thought you quit growing. And then it wasn't until I was 30 and looking at one of my mug shots that I went, oh, I'm older. I'm taller than this. Yeah, that was probably when I was 19 or so. I was a little bit smaller, but I'm not. They were always bigger than me. I'm not by any means ever the biggest guy at any party.
By the way, I was, I like Ben and Grace, but I thought it was really fucked up how Grace kept bringing up your situation in the past. The bust. That was
when I was talking to Ben, I wasn't paying attention to that.
That
so
was
she
pretty
did.
low.
It's okay. I mean, I'm very wide open about it. I think it's relevant. It's obviously it's
But
relevant.
you've
It's
overcome it.
interesting. Yeah, it's relevant. It's interesting, and I don't. It's not hidden at all. So if she wants to try to attack on those lines, I'm totally fine with it. I expect it to happen.
It's just not a good attack given that you've completely overcome it and straightened out your life.
Well, I appreciate it.
So, Flo, why is it
Isn't she like a
relevant?
high schooler? Grace?
No.
Isn't she like
21.
Oh, 21, okay.
Yeah.
Grace
Still
Thorpe.
pretty young.
Yeah.
What did you mean by relevant? Like, you mean relevant to your channel or relevant to
It's
your
relevant
life?
to a lot of the things I talk about. It's relevant to my perspectives on, like, particularly the war on drugs, my view on cops. A lot of the things that I cover a lot here. My story is relevant to it.
What is your view on cops?
I think that they're douchebags. I also think that there's no such thing, and this is a philosophical argument. I think there's no such thing as a good cop, because to be a cop, your job is to enforce things with violence that may not need to be enforced with violence. Basically, you're a moral prostitute.
And the thing is their job is always to interview you and try to catch you with charges if you say anything back.
Yeah, I mean, anecdotally, they're worse than criminals, but philosophically, I don't think that. I mean, that's a stronger argument. Is the philosophical one, right? Because everybody likes to say it's just there's a few bad apples. Well, I think that really you have to be a bad apple to sell your morals or your own moral discernment and mindlessly engage things violently for a middle class wage.
And the thing is that putting the hands on women, I understand they got to arrest people sometimes, but it's just weird. Men aren't supposed to put their hands on women, and for some reason, once you have a badge, it's okay.
I mean, I don't think that women are above being arrested.
No, but
yeah,
it just depends how far you take it,
Would you entertain the idea that not all cops sign up with ill intent? Like they sign
Absolutely.
up to them with intentions to, like, I'm gonna go fight crime and be, the good guy fighting the bad guys. Like,
Absolutely,
so
100%.
what do you think the turn is then in that aspect?
I think that at some point, and I don't think it should take that long, but at some point you realize that you're causing harm, right? Like we were all raised with the DARE programs and this and that, and thinking that the cause, drugs are basically the cause of all problems, and that drug dealers are out here, they're Scarface, and they're just, murdering and exploiting and living the large life. We've got a caricature built up in our minds through pop culture and education. That's not the case. At whatever point it is that you realize that you're actually attacking people because of you call it an illness if you want. I don't think that's totally accurate, but call it an illness. And you're causing more harm than you're preventing, which I 100,000% believe to be the case, then at that point you need to reevaluate your mindset, not just dig in on it.
So
Which is what
do you think we'd be better off without police altogether, or?
I wouldn't go that far, not right now. I think that what really needs to change is the laws need to change to where police and laws protect victims, not where they create them.
And I think traffic police need to not be so concerned with searching vehicles and trying to be DEA, you know?
I mean,
Well,
go ahead.
I just came up here real quick. Did you hear the latest on Ricada?
I saw that he made a video last night. I have not. I've only watched a little bit of it. I actually think that Miss Flo. I was thinking
somebody got a hold of his CPS papers that were filed.
Oh,
and
no.
He's got 5 kids. The only big piece that came out of it is he's got 5 kids, and they did a hair follicle on all 5 of them. One of them came back with cocaine in their hair follicle test. And according to the chart, the 5,000 level is like someone that does it on weekends or every other day, something like that. You know, they're intermittent users, not recreational. They're a little more than recreational. It was his 9-year-old daughter.
I had a situation where my landlord came, he lived behind me in Hawaii, and he came home knocking on my door at 1:30 in the morning, and his 2-year-old daughter was high on meth, after just being returned from the wife. And he asked my advice. I said, take her to the ER and immediately report this. Otherwise, you know, she could die and you're up S Creek. Well, it got all 3 of his kids taken away for a year, and he blamed me and evicted me. But what do you do?
Yeah. Well, they took his
Hey,
kid.
Chuck,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it here.
Okay. All right, that's all I was covering was just
all right. Well, yeah, I appreciate it, and I started watching it, and I think that I haven't told her yet, but I think that I might make a video with Miss Flo, kind of like watching his thing and responding to it, because his I mean, that part is different, but his situation seems very familiar to ours.
Really?
Did you guys think I did the right thing?
I got raided. It was on drug charges.
That's true.
Did I do the right thing?
Guns and stuff, yeah.
I think I would have given him the same advice.
Okay, thank you.
They stripped you, right, Flo? They stripped you of everything.
What do you mean strip me of everything? Like
your possession?
Like you surrendered all your arms?
Oh yeah, I mean, I showed it here. I'll pull it back up a picture. I showed this a couple streams ago. The safes, because I had 4 safes that were not listed on the search warrants, and I wouldn't give them the combinations. The locksmith they called couldn't get in. The fire department couldn't get in. They eventually called people with cutting torches, and they cut open all 4 of them, and then took every single thing out of all of them. Which not all of it was relevant, but yeah, I forfeited in the plea deal all my guns, which is probably a $200,000 collection today if I were to replace it. All my ammo, all my knives.
Matt.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I tax deducted them for over $100,000 as a casualty loss, and that's estimating things conservatively, because I didn't put on, like, I had a gun with 18 karat gold plated lower parts, you know, all sorts of shit.
I remember a guy at work. At the time, he was a union pipe fitter, but he was making like $120,000 a year from work, and he installed a in floor concrete safe when he built his house, and he got into running drugs. And when they came and raided him, they ended up bringing in the Bobcat with the concrete bull nose on it, and busted up his whole floor just to get the safe out of the ground.
Wow.
It was crazy. Craziest thing I ever saw.
Yeah, they said they were at my house. I was in jail, of course, by this time, so I didn't see it, but I was told that they were at my house all day. And so this
shit.
that the safe sitting on top was inside of the lower safe, right? And that was actually a good thing because I kept, contraband, I suppose, if you want to call it that, inside of the little safe, inside the big safe where I had guns.
I have a question for you about your FN. Did you already know about and desire an FN 57 before you met the guy that sold it to you, or did you first find out? Oh, cool. So you already wanted one.
I had been looking for one actually, but I wanted to buy one through. I didn't want my name on paper having it because my understanding is they had tried at the time. They had tried to pass 5 different bills just for that gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because it was so powerful, it could go through vests.
Yep.
Yeah.
Flo, I want
Welcome
to
everybody
applaud
else.
you on. No, I want to applaud you on how you just told us how it's not Scarface, glamour-esque shit like that, and then show us your big safe and 24 karat gold grips. What the fuck?
Base. That's why they call you base. He doesn't miss anything, does he?
That's why they don't call him Golden Penis for nothing.
That is true.
Yeah, that's about right.
By the way, Chuck, I really respect you. I've listened to a lot of your talks on this channel, and I got a lot of respect for you, Chuck.
Damn, somebody actually likes me? Shit, I didn't even have to pay him.
I paid him to say that.
Yeah. Oh, you're not supposed to tell him, Flo.
But in reality, I mean, like that shit, that wasn't drug money at all. That got that. I wasn't selling drugs, even though I do have a drug distribution conviction based off presented. What's the word I'm looking for? The amount I had.
Oh,
because
maybe like a Costco buyer. Buy
She said you buying in bulk, or Costco.
Oh, well, it was in bulk enough. See, you have to the way that the sentencing grid is laid out. There's 5 tiers based on quantity. Since I had meth, when you're dealing with meth in my state, there are 3 tiers. The 3 lowest tiers are all below an 8-ball, and then 2 tiers above. So an 8-ball is 3.5 grams. So it's 3 tiers and 3.5 grams, and then it's 3.5 grams to 100 grams, and then it's 100 and up. So I had like a bit over 7 grams, which is I mean, it's I'm not about to run out, but it's not like
Would that be? Is that
it's like
$100?
$100, huh?
Okay, is that like 2 8-balls or something?
Yeah, 2 8-balls.
Okay.
After an 8-ball, it's considered intent to distribute.
Automatically.
Yes.
Right quick.
I know well about it.
I just got a message. Yes, it was. He was battling cancer for a long time.
Right.
RBR. Yeah.
Oh.
He lived out in what, LA?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Flo, that's all you had?
Yeah.
All that over that?
Yeah. That 32 guns.
That was a 3.5 year investigation. They came away with a bit over 7 grams. I mean, from that rate, I got rated 3 times. The last time I had a bit more, but it was, not a distribution quantity. And yeah, basically all that over that. As far as the crime goes, right? What they got off the street was all combined less than a half ounce.
So why didn't they let you plead to lesser charge?
Well, they did.
Oh shit! Oh, fuck.
that was the plea to a lesser charge.
What was you facing? 25.
I was facing 15 if everything went wrong.
And so was this because it was in the presence of guns as well? Did that make it work?
No, actually, that didn't impact the thing at all. I don't know if it's because of my state. I don't know if it's because I had the stuff mostly in a different safe inside the safe. So the longer version is that I came on the radar at all because they were pursuing stolen guns. There had been a burglary, a bunch of guns had been stolen. They had tracked all of them down except for one. I was mentioned as the one who had the last gun. So they were actually, even though the warrants were for drugs and stuff, I believe that that's just an easier warrant to get, and the drugs were incidental. What they were really looking for, I believe, is the guns, stolen guns.
Was that that crack hose boyfriend that turned you in?
He had nothing to do with the gun thing. He was the last person to talk to the sheriffs about me, and he was their final reason. He mentioned so what he's referring to is Scott Chesney is his name. Scott Chesney was married to Amanda, and Amanda was a sack hoe, and she was running all around getting high and fucking people. And, yeah. And he got mad at her one day and went into the sheriff's office and just dumped every name he could ever think of having heard. Mine was one of them. Now, that said, Scott, I fuck higher caliber chicks than you do. I would never touch Amanda with my dick. I wouldn't.
My dick. So, in your state, is there the ability to have this expunged so that you can get your rights back?
Yes, and actually, I just like immediately, like a couple days ago, am eligible for it. It's got to be a certain duration after you do your sentence.
Yeah,
and, I miscalculated, so I've actually got the paperwork already filled out because I thought it was back in December, but I was mistaken. So now,
can you do that pro se, or do you got to have a lawyer to do that?
I'm going to try to do it myself. I've downloaded some information packets, and the ACLU has a step-by-step sort of helper thing. So I'm not going to hire a lawyer because it has to go back to the county of my conviction, and there's one judge, and I'm going to go back to the same judge and the same prosecutor.
You're screwed.
Maybe.
I did a lawyer.
No.
I was once convicted of a felony, and it only cost me $500 to have a lawyer expunge mine, and so I got all my rights back.
You know what? Maybe I'll talk to one and see what they would charge for it, because that would be worth it if that's.
Before you go and spend money on a grimy ass lawyer, and they're pretty much all grimy as fuck.
I love lawyers.
Yeah, you love them. So you might want to consider maybe using, like, I'm not saying this one in particular, but like Rocket Lawyer, where you could pay, I don't know, it's probably like $30-$40 or maybe even a week for free, and just get that one form, like, for you, because apparently they have like all different states jurisdictions for all different form services, because you got to understand, a lawyer is going to use the same fucking wheel that's been there. They're just going to plug in new names and charge you like 5 fucking hours. So I'm just saying you might want to look into something like that would be much cheaper and still give you some of that legal language and such.
Mine cost me $500, and it took 30 days to get the record concealed.
So that is a good idea. I think there's another reason why I'm doing it now, and I'm not gonna. I'll dox myself later if this goes through.
Yeah, don't. Yeah,
there's something else that's going on now that makes me think I will be able to do it myself and go through. There's the bigger, within the state, there's new legislation that just passed, and so there are people that are having success going this route on their own.
If the law's in your favor, you can do it on your own.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing is you and I may be able to shoot our next F57s together.
I don't know. I'm not going to try to rebuild that gun collection. That was.
Oh no, it was a little too big.
Well, I mean, it's okay. Let's say I rebuild it. I spent $200,000. Let's say I spent another $200,000 and I rebuild it. Am I going to enjoy it? No. It'll probably just be a bitter thing. So I figured the gun phase of my life is over. I will get, like a Glock 19 and I'll have some guns, but it won't be like it was.
Yeah, just get a couple nice ones so you can go to the range and have recreational shooting and have a good time.
I just want to be able to, when Base Oracle shows up on my front porch because he thinks that we're going to box, I want to be able to punch him with a hollow point.
You keep asking. You're
He's not
asking.
showing up with a knife to the gunfight.
I can see it now.
I had a
Face
Glock.
Oracle shows up with gloves on.
Nah. I had a Glock 23 and a Glock 45, which was a single stack 9. I think I preferred the 45 overall.
I think Glock 19 is probably. I'll probably get that again. I had a couple Glock. I had 2 Glock 19s, a Glock 20, a Glock 29. Yeah, I had 4 Glocks when I got raided.
What was the most expensive one you had gun?
It was let's see. I had a Desert Eagle 50 cal. I had all these are somewhere up in the $2,000 range. Just at base. I had a Desert Eagle 50 cal. I had an FN PS90. I had two Heckler and Koch 45 tacticals, which those are in OD green. They only made 1,000 of this model of pistol, and I had 2 of them. That's probably the one that I'm most salty about losing. The ARs with I built all my own ARs, so I don't really even know, because I swapped around so many parts and barrels and that it's hard for me to say how much any of those were worth with any objectivity.
What got you into collecting?
A hobby, and it's a store of value was another thing. That's why that was a big reason that I was able to justify putting this much money into guns, is because the dollar's inflating so fast. I realized that guns are a better store of value, which they are. Actually, they appreciated compared to the dollar quite a bit. So
they can go as much as gold. And for me, I was looking at gold, but I decided to go with guns because you can't take gold to the range and shoot it.
But I'm also kind of a tinker. Like, I like mechanical things.
Yeah.
And guns provided that, because I'd build. And now, I mean, since then I tinker around with trucks, I guess now.
I used to build electric guitars, and then when I got into guns, it was just doing the same thing with metals.
I'm invested in silver myself.
Yeah, I've got silver and gold, more silver than gold, but you can't.
It's more silver rings, diamonds, that type of thing, heavy. But not. Yeah. I was doing the coins about 3 years ago, and I was like, And so now that's kind of what I'm doing. And hard liquor for bartering, because I don't really drink at all. So if it really shit hits the fans, I'm going to have some hard liquor for these losers around me that they don't want to invade completely.
That's genius. That is so genius.
Hi, Dave.
I don't know. I wouldn't want to barter with liquor, though, because if an alcoholic figures out that you have liquor stashed,
it's gone.
Yeah,
true. I've already lost a leaf blower to squatters across the street. Tell me about it.
Oh my God.
Yep.
I can't stand thieves.
Sticky fingers.
Yeah.
Like cops. Yeah, the money didn't even make it on the evidence list.
Yeah. By the way, did they snag any of your guns either?
It seems like all the guns made it on the evidence list. I think that they were really leaning on that for my charges.
Yeah.
And so they did log in all the guns. But the cash never made it on. I had about $3,000 in cash and safe that didn't make it on the evidence list.
I would have imagined the cash would have helped the distribution concept behind it.
So actually, I thought ahead a little bit in the future about that, and the cash I had on hand was all $50 bills for that exact reason.
When I was in Hawaii, there was a bunch of cops getting busted because they would arrest people with legitimate prescriptions of oxycodone, and it would always come up missing. And they eventually caught the cops. They were stealing it and selling it, and they ended up getting busted. It made big news in Maui.
How does how is it in like $50 denominations?
Well,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
the thought process being that this can't be drug money because nobody buys drugs with 50s, right? If it was a pile of
Really?
different types of bills, well, some people do, but to say that a drug dealer, all of his clients use only 50s, that doesn't make any sense.
Oh.
Yeah. They were still in it was all in a bank envelope. It was all 50s. It was all in a bank envelope, in the safe.
Oh.
Yeah, what's up, Flo?
What's going on?
Sounds like you need a good lawyer.
I had a good lawyer, and now I'm out of that trouble. But I mean, are you talking about that or for the expungement thing?
I don't know. I got friends in a lot of states, like what I do for a living. So if you need some help, holla at me.
Well, if you know somebody in Kansas, let me know.
Kansas, damn.
Sure.
Yeah,
But
just check.
the thing that I think that I'll be able to do it myself if I can get it done at all. I'm not entirely convinced that they're going to give me this same courtesy they'd give just kind of anybody else. I know that when I was on probation, my PO requested early completion for me, and they declined it the first time. She said I'm the only person she's ever had denied in any court for when.
Yeah.
So
Ooh, that's sour.
Yo, you know
They
what?
had it out. They had it out for you,
hold
bro.
on, hold on,
Whose
Flo.
Cheerios did you piss in?
Yo, Flo, you know what you do? You this is what they hate. Any type of arresting officer or anything like that, file a complaint and then file a lawsuit with a contingency lawyer, because you don't have to pay them unless they win. And they will, if you got a reason, like, hey, I felt.
I have no way to prove that they took my money, though.
Oh man, that's what is going on in Kansas? You might have.
I
to
mean, I
look.
can't. Kansas has some of the worst asset forfeiture laws too. Like, not that that's what this was, because this was just theft. They just stole the money.
Yeah, that's what.
But yeah, no, there's no how. I mean,
will
how would I go
agree
about
and
proving-
attest. Took me 3 years to get rid of my son for a basic traffic ticket in Kansas City lines, and we're in Missouri. I can contest. It's a bitch.
That's a corrupt system right there.
That reminds me of Hawaii so much. Those guys used to. Well, when I first got there, medical weed was new, and there was this dispensary that was growing it, and a bunch of people dressed as police who they believed, by the way they moved, were police. They moved in, took everything, and nothing made it on. That whole bust was a ghost.
Yeah, that's not uncommon. I know in Wichita at about the same time I got raided, there was a cop who was running around. He was notorious around the area for showing up at houses the night before it was supposed to get raided, and he'd clean them out. And I mean, I've bought coke off of uniformed cops before. The whole system's dirty.
Yeah,
You mentioned that last night, I think.
Sounds like one of them got to go, if you ask me.
Oh yeah.
I just don't think that the system is predatory.
Yes.
It's and full stop. And I don't think that there's really, you can't get more training. And I mean, I just don't think there's a way to solve it until you solve the laws. The laws are the issue.
The worst thing about jail, though, is I don't know what kind of cell you were in, but when I was in jail, if you had a problem, even a medical problem, your cellie could be beating on the door. It'll take them 45 minutes to come to the door just to see what's going on. And the little speakers don't work. So, so you'd die if you had a stroke in there.
Yo, from my, sorry to cut you off, from my observation, it sounds like cops in Kansas, they got like a nepotism thing going on, like dads, nephews, and nieces, and just grandfathered into the police with a certain mind state. So it sounds very twisted. Move out of Kansas.
Well, at first they wouldn't let me, and now, yeah, I grew up on the Missouri side of Kansas City, knowing better than to go to Kansas. Don't go to Kansas, da-da-da-da. And then at some point, I moved to Kansas to take a job, and sure as shit, they liked me so much they wouldn't let me leave.
Nice.
I can leave now, but, we're kind of here.
Yeah, they tried to do that to me in Virginia, then they found out how much land I owned.
Hey, is your wife, the one you're married to now, is she the same one that they tried, that that was your wife back then, and they tried to get her too.
Yeah, yeah. The one
Wow.
that Katie. She went
Yeah.
on the run. Yeah,
Well, she stuck by you thick and thin. That's great.
A lot of
she's pretty
moves. A
gangster.
lot of moves.
Yeah.
Yo, wait a minute. Is that Kansas or Kentucky where they still got tobacco farms? Because I know they're very corrupt.
Kentucky.
Oh, okay, that is Kentucky. Okay.
It's
Did
not
you know-
Kansas.
Did you know there's only been, I believe, 4 opium poppy busts in the United States in history, as far as I recall?
Are you kidding me? They're
Yeah.
now the cartel is now starting to grow coca leaves in Mexico just to cut their.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
America.
But see, all this would go away if
America's
drugs
the
were
ones
legal.
protecting it for how many wars? How many years are we over there protecting the poppy fields? That was
And
our
then we
mission.
told
Money.
Number
It's
one.
money. It's
Well,
all about money.
The Taliban was killing the poppy farmers, and then the military comes in, puts a stop to that, and all of a sudden, H
And
is a big
poppy
thing.
production was
Yeah.
immediately banned again, and now we have a fentanyl crisis.
Yeah. And that's from China.
But it occurred at the same time that the Taliban shut down poppy production.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
See what happens with poppy production for the production of heroin, and which usually sometimes it's used for actual painkillers because it's barbiturate. I think that's what it's called.
Opiate.
An opiate.
Opiate, yeah, opiate. Okay, yeah. See, I'm wrong. I forgot. But yeah, that's a lot of it is government based. So they will say it's wrong, it's bad, don't do it, but that funds the economy.
Hey, DeFreak, I don't think you were here. RBR has been confirmed passed away. I know you wanted to know, so.
The Freak's actually an undercover cop.
Wait a
Wait a
minute.
minute.
Seriously? The guy that Flo visits? That guy?
No,
that
the
he
freak is
puts on
not an undercover. I mean, if he is, he's under deeper cover than I do.
Yo,
The
who
one in
just,
chat.
I'm just joking.
yo, Tito called me Italian, Big Tito. I'm not Italian, man.
Flo, my dad was a cop, right? My dad was a narc, and one thing I realized with watching my dad for years was he was very afraid of real people, and any chance he could, he would try to take them down. He was an inferior little bitch.
Yeah, but I mean that's
Just
sort of
how
the
it is.
mindset, right? Like the sheepdog mindset. It's not one of us, it's one of them. Oh, and fuck. I can't believe I forgot to make an announcement. There are several new custom emojis. One of them is Raging Tomato, who just left. One of them is oh my god, who else?
right on. Is it a tomato or her face? What is it?
It's her face. I'm spacing. Somebody look at the custom emojis.
One thing too about police is they're so obsessed with their appearance and what's the word, positive regard from other people. They're obsessed with it.
Not really. You know what they just passed in New York now?
Yep.
With the state troopers and NYPD, you can't have a beard no more. And you got to have long sleeves if you got tattoos as well.
Well, I remember when I went to New York right after the 9/11, and I was like hippy skippy because I was like, I'm coming here. I got no fear. I paid my flight, and I flew over 9/11, the spotlights on it, and the Queen's plane accident at night. Took a train downtown, and then I wandered outside because at that time I smoked cigarettes. I don't anymore. As of 3 years, thank God I was able to quit it. I do vape still and smoke my weed, but yeah, that was like a long time smoking guys, like 15, 16-year-olds getting addicted to a cigarette. So I'm in New York, and I had been there back 2.5 years. I worked in New Jersey, so I'd been there before. So I fly in like, I'm no fear, I'm American. I bought myself a JetBlue for like $255 round trip ticket from Vegas. And I take a train downtown, and I'm at a bar, and I walk outside with my little champagne. I thought, well, I'll have a drink because I'm not really a drinker. And I'm smoking my cigarette, and man, did they come up on me. The
Oh, you
police.
was outside with a
You need to
open
go.
drink?
I'm raised in Vegas, born and raised.
Yeah, that don't work over here, darling. Yeah, get back inside. You're lucky you ain't getting a bing for the night. On the weekend, that's bad. That's 3 days automatically. You ain't seeing the judge till Monday.
See, and that's what I'm talking about. That's not
And right
protecting
after
anybody. That's creating
9/11.
victims.
Right after 9/11, everybody's
Nah,
like
but
antennas were high.
yeah, you was cool though, so you didn't get locked up. So they were just like, "Hey, yo, go back inside."
But what I was going to say is the other one was crispy treat. But there's also a tanning injection emoji for people to use at their discretion.
I'm a black.
Tanning
man. I don't need a
injection?
tan. I'm black. I
Oh.
don't need a tan.
Easy, gotcha.
Yep. And you know
Yeah,
what?
I do turn red in the summer. I'm like part Indian, so but I'm black. I don't need a tan.
For the here, I'm going to play the short I'm referring to for people who are not familiar with what I'm talking about. Where'd it go? I got a lot of shorts going on, man. They're all fucking brilliant. Every last one of them. Here it is.
Yeah, your shorts are great.
Ego much.
I mean, my shorts are great, Chuck.
Yeah, I know.
Bring it thick.
I make
like
Hawaiian shorts or basketball shorts, boy shorts. What type of shorts y'all talking?
Board shorts like surfers wear.
Oh,
This is
that's
Flow
the cool.
State.
That's the cool kind.
I
Volleyball
always
girl
gravitated
shorts.
to the black people for some reason, and it's just I just connected more with. I don't know.
Yo, what
I've
the
always
hell?
felt a little different, and I always felt like I wanted to have darker skin. I just wanted to be
That's
like
the
all my
definition of
friends and stuff like
crispy.
that. So in middle school, I started thinking about
That's
doing
what we
plastic
call
surgery
a
to
wigger.
become, see if I can do the opposite of Michael Jackson.
Exactly.
And then I was like, you know what? Fuck that. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Yo.
just gonna be me. You know what I'm saying? As I progressed into adulthood, I started trying to find other ways to darken my skin, but it never seemed to happen. But then I found out
that's
about
Rachel
the tanning
Dolezal.
injections, and I wanted to try
It
it. And
is.
I tried it, and I like it, and I finally have dark skin, which I've always wanted. I
That
always
is crazy.
gravitated to the black people for some reason, and
That
I
is
thought it was
wild.
him at
Dog.
first.
Well, you know what? People have a identity crisis these days. I think it's like
Dude,
a fad or fashion or something.
when Flo was catching so much shit from this panel about that clip, I was like, if it was in bad faith, I could understand like
No,
like
it's
it being
comical.
insulting. But the thing is the fact that there's been a lot of confirmation that Easy's stepdad is the black one, and I before Flo
You
made
talk
that
frank
clip.
with me. I don't get offended. He's a
Before
witness.
before Flo made that clip, he had realized that Speakeasy isn't actually half black. So
How the
you
fuck?
know,
I didn't have to learn shit about his stepdad or his dad. I can look at the dude and know that he's not.
I
half black.
know he's got
Yeah.
no features
Right.
whatsoever.
Yeah, no, and he says so. That's the clip is two different guys, and the one that's kind of like licking it with the braids. Well, I guess okay. The one that's not tatted up. I'm sorry, the one that is tatted up but not tanned up. He's the one I'm making fun of in that, and he says, dead ass, straight face with no irony, that he is half black.
Yo, I grew up around a lot of huge diversity in New York. And certain people, we talk the same, and you be like Asian cats, you be like, oh, we know you from Brooklyn, we know you from the Bronx, because we talk like that. But when you do that, as far as appearance and aesthetics, that's when it gets kind of mental to me. It's like you trying to fit in where you don't really belong.
Some dude
faking the funk.
Isn't this kind of an epidemic we have of these white wannabe rappers who are
You can
all claiming?
You can call it an epidemic. I call it jumping on the bandwagon.
Yeah, I agree. It's a bandwagon thing.
Can I do a call out real quick on that Imp Dave? Hi, I'm Dave. He said that black people go to tanning beds all the time. Okay.
I've had brothers tell me that they do get
Let's
blacker.
go on that.
I've had brothers tell me they do get blacker when they spend a lot of time in the sun.
Yeah, I turn red. I actually turn red.
Oh,
like I'm like
shit.
I'm like I'm like a lighter skin. People think I'm Dominican, but I sit in the sun too long.
Oh, you can definitely get burned. Oh,
Yeah, I got sun poison before when I was fishing. Yeah, I turned red like I turned red like an apple.
Holy moly!
Nothing sounds whiter than hearing you go, the brothers.
The brothers.
The does it has to be with a D, not brothers. The brothers.
Oh,
brothers.
There you go.
Now, didn't they just allow those Indian cops or the CX or whatever, the ones that can wear the turbans? Didn't they just allow them to grow beards in New York?
No, well, they turbans and hijabs. That's different. That's under I think a religious statute. But
I thought their beard was covered under the religious
well, if
statute
you're
too.
well, maybe, but like I was stating before, if you're police in New York City now, or you're a New York City state trooper, beards and visible tattoos are no longer allowed.
Yeah, so here's the thing, the paradigm that I think cops find themselves in a lot, which is most of them probably get into it thinking they're doing something heroic, and then they realize that they're not, and so they try to cope and project out and force place the heroicism, is that a word? And like when I was, I mean, you've heard me talk about how tacked up everybody was at my raid, like all of them, you know, they're all vests and ARs and single filing around the whole house. Like, bro, I just got out of jail.
Sound like you was treated like you was Bin Laden, like SEAL Team 6 knocked on your door. That's bad. Move out of camp.
Oh yeah, they the last time I got raided, I was standing on the back porch and I heard a stick snap, and that was my first thought. I was like, "Fuck, I'm getting raided again." But then you talk yourself out of it.
Bro,
but yeah, they single filed around both sides of the house. It was columns of 4, and all 8 of them had the full vests and tack gear and ARs with their fingers on the trigger and shit.
Jeez, that sucks.
Only thing I ever did was a little bit of coke, and by the time I made a mistake when I told you every 6 years. It was every 6 years twice, and then one more time 12 years later. So only 3 times.
Hey man, I'm about to do something that I thought I wouldn't do in a minute because it scares me. I got this old school silver haze right now, but I got a dab machine with a quartz bottom. I'm about to take a dab.
Go for it.
I cannot fuck with dabs. I don't care.
I know. I'm scared. I'm scared right now.
Dabs almost killed me in 2017.
I will tell you
Killed me.
that dabs are
all
hard.
right. I'm not gonna do it then. See, that's why it's been
no. You have to now. We want to hear you.
Nah, I'm gonna just smoke some regular flower. Fuck the dabs. Y'all said it.
Dave,
I need to come up and defend myself.
I'm the Dave.
Hi,
There
I'm
can only
Dave.
there can only be one of us.
I am the Dave.
Oh, well,
sorry.
I lost that one.
I've been Dave too long. You can't have it.
Dave, you got your scrubs on? You just get done a nurse job?
What? No.
You can't tell he's been taking those tanning injections?
Yeah, I've obviously been taking the tanning injections. No, but literally, there are black people that do use tanning beds.
I don't think so.
I'm dead serious.
You know, there's a guy that he did something almost adverse. There's a lady that did something to increase the melanin in her skin. She actually turned white to dark like African. But there was one guy, he took something zinc or something, and his skin actually turned blue.
Well, the thing is, when you already have like your melanocytes, the melanin producers in your skin active,
yeah, but
you're not gonna get the UVB to like open them up and produce more melanin.
That's epidermal and lower dermal. The melanin is supposed to protect you like a natural sunscreen, so you actually abuse it when you're trying to tan.
I thought it was a different chemical that was making the guy turn blue. But
Oh yeah, it's zinc. I don't know. It's something that he was doing. You know what I'm
the
talking
guy
about?
turned really blue,
Yeah, he looked like Santa Claus with a beard.
like a Smurf.
Yeah, Smurf. Yeah, they called him Papa Smurf. Yeah, he looked
But,
just like Papa
there is
Smurf.
there is one benefit you can do from going to get some like booth tanning. It helps so that your skin is less sensitive.
No,
Supposedly,
actually, the only
supposedly, I don't know. That's
the
the way
only
it's
thing that
marketed to
you
me
would do
when
that
we were
for
doing the
is
thing.
because sun, when it goes into your skin on the upper epidermal layer, it produces vitamin D. So that's good for your blood and your well-being and health. So
That's what
sun
I heard.
produces vitamin D.
That's
All
what I
right.
heard, Gary. It was
Well,
cranial
then
silver.
next time I see somebody going in, I'll ask them why. But I don't think that would be taken very well.
Are they like what are they? What's the name of that
They
show?
might be offended if I ask that. That's what
The
I'm worried
Jersey
about.
Shore. The Jersey Shore.
Oh
It
yeah,
was Jim Tan and whatever they was doing.
Jim Tanning Laundry,
Yeah.
GTL.
Yeah.
Gary has a good comment because this is what I think I remember. The guy was taking a S-ton of cranial silver, and that's what made him turn blue.
Yeah, that's what it
I just
is.
wanted
It
to
was
come up and defend
silver.
myself. I'm
Yeah.
gonna go now though. Bye.
Yo, he did look
All
like
right,
Papa
Dave.
Smurf. He did. Yo,
Yeah, he did.
with a white beard and everything.
Well,
Everybody was
Papa
like, "Did
Smurf
you?"
Peace out,
is
brother.
red.
Peace out.
Papa
Yo,
Smurf is red. It's the other ones that are blue.
No, Papa Smurf was blue, bro.
Oh, was he? Or
Yeah.
was it his hat that was red?
Yeah, his hat was red.
Oh, okay.
He was always trying to bang Smurfette.
Oh, of course.
Why in my mind do I think of a Smurf and blue, but yeah, red hat, right? Red hat.
Yeah.
Is that what we're doing? Okay.
Yeah,
Somewhere
but
in
no.
Time. Did you ever watch that movie with Christopher Reeves
Which
called
one?
Somewhere in Time?
We're gonna go there. Yeah, that's why
it's a great
that's what my name is about. It's
a great
about yeah, you get it. If you saw it, you get it.
It's
A
sad.
professor that tries to help him
Look, I'm
go
a
back
movie
in time
buff.
to a theater in the 1800s in Michigan
I'm
to
a
be
movie
on the
buff.
lake. Oh,
I
it's
can watch
gorgeous.
any movie and anything you want at any time and anything that you can pull up close to. You know what's one of the best movies that I think people will watch as far as integrity, and I think they're making a part 2. The Count of Monte Cristo.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
And also
That's
one of my
old. That's an
favorites.
old one, right? That's
Yeah,
old.
one of my favorites because like I do practice magic. I used to be in entertainment and all that. Also, now you see
Okay, I'm backing up. Go ahead.
now you see me. Great movie.
Yeah, that one too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I really loved Somewhere in Time. The first time I saw that, I think I was 4, and then as an adult, when I saw it, it's just so sad. He falls in love, and then he accidentally pulls out a coin that had the modern date on it. And
Hold on. Can I know on the on the 6 squares who's speaking to me right now so I can focus on you?
That's Toxic Angel.
Oh, hello. Okay, yeah, go for it.
Focus in.
I was just saying that when he pulled out the penny that had the 1980s date on it.
1979. 1979.
And then he comes back. I thought it was so sad that he committed suicide because he was so in love and then losing that. That was such a sad movie. It was cool.
Have
He didn't commit suicide. He gave in to the realm.
Have
is
you
the way
ever
I see it. And he crossed over to meet her where she was waiting in white in the clouds.
I get
Somewhere.
it because she was so far back in time in '79 by crossing over.
No, he was in 79 and kept the penny in his pocket from an outfit that he rented that didn't match the time that he was in that he transported to. And she made fun of his outfit because it was very tight fitting and didn't match the actual time period, which was, I believe, around 1812 when the Titanic went down. But in the movie, he pursues her because he had gone on a trip. He was a screenplay writer and with theater. And she walked up to him in the very beginning scene and gives him a clock watch in his hand and says to him, come back to me. And she's an old woman. Yeah.
Have you ever heard of?
I'm a romantic. I'm sorry, I get carried away.
Hold on. Have you ever heard of a writer, producer, director named Ed Night Shyamalan?
Shyamalan rings a bell.
We used to go on blood rides to his house. He lived in the suburbs of Philadelphia.
And he gets
Oh,
visited
give it
by-
up. Give it
Hold
up,
on, let me
JG.
finish. he gets visited by ghosts because he died. He drowned and came back, and he gets his creative ability from the ghosts that visit him. But he loses it if he goes out of the tri-state. That's why he can't leave New
I got that
Jersey.
same curse.
Yep, he can't leave New Jersey and this area.
Oh wait,
because
wait. This is a
he-
human that's existing right now, or
yeah,
this
he
is
has
a movie?
movies. Look it up. His name is Ed Night Shyamalan. He produces the
Oh.
wildest movies.
No, he lives in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He's in the tri. He can't go outside the area. He's like, they told me I'll lose my creative ability, and he's visited because he died as a child.
So he feels he gets lost in time.
No, he just loses his creative ability. He gets writer's block,
Oh, okay.
instant writer's
Gotcha,
block
gotcha.
because he doesn't have the influence of the ghosts that visit him.
Mm.
Look it up. He got the greatest, illest movies. They're really complex.
Let
He's
me
got
write it down. All
Signs.
right. Hold on.
He
Let me
did
grab my
Signs, right?
clipboard.
Yeah, Ed Night Shyamalan. He has the most complex movies. He's a wild dude.
Hold on. You're going through that real fast. Hold on. I'll ask you one more time. Don't say it now. I don't have my pen. Hold on. You go
Flow
ahead and
State,
keep
I
talking.
think Chuck is saying close the poll. Okay.
He did Signs, right? That's the same guy, M. Night Shyamalan.
Yep. There you go.
Yeah. Signs and what else?
A lot of weird movies.
Is that right?
Oh, The Happening. I think he did The Happening.
Yeah, he's very
Yeah.
he's very good at what he does.
This
But-
might sound gay, but I like The Notebook. Just that whole Alzheimer's.
Oh my God, me too.
Wasn't that
What a
so
tearjerker.
crazy? How at the end they just like passed away together at the same time. That was just like amazing.
I never seen that shit.
It was
Okay,
crazy.
does everybody else have the same problem when you're looking for a pen, you can't find it, and all the time they're always around you?
Yeah,
Of
but you're on a
course.
computer, right? You can open up something and it's called a notepad.
Yeah, I'm so old school. I apologize. That's what it is.
You can notepad on a phone as well.
If you wanna watch a weird but a little funny movie, watch The Beguiled with Clint Eastwood. It's a strange movie.
What's the name of it?
Clint Eastwood in The Beguiled.
Wow.
Beguiled.
Yo, hold
Okay,
on.
go ahead
Yo,
and spell
wait a
that
minute.
first name real quick, sir, if you
Hold
don't
on.
mind.
No, let
and-
me look at
and we'll-
JG. Hold on, JG.
Okay.
Yo, those are real ramps. You ride. Yo, I used to be a BMX freestyler and I rode for Harrow and Hutch.
Okay, I
Wow.
used to skate Brooklyn Banks. We take the bus up from Philly and skate the banks.
Okay, no, I was flatland in ramps for BMX back in the days, like Eddie Fiola, Randy Titchman, Earl Osborne, all that. That's my era. CO, Seppi Mays, you know, all of that crazy back, like Matt Hoffman, Dave Mira. That's my era.
Yeah. What year was that?
Might show my age if I tell you. But I was sponsored by Hutch and Harrow.
Okay. Did you know any skaters from Philly?
The only skater that we really encountered was in Manhattan is when Tony Hawk and a few others before they got famous used to come out there and, you know, rock with us in Washington Square Park. But I didn't really get with many skaters because you can't keep up when you're on a bunch of BMXs.
Real quick, I gotta go. Thanks for having me, Flow State. I apologize for the bad news. God bless RBR and his family.
Take care,
Nice to see
brother.
you guys again, and look forward to seeing you next time. Have a good night, and nice to meet you somewhere in time, JG. Some
Yeah,
dude,
you too. Take care.
Denise. Aloha.
Yeah, you have a wonderful night, bro.
Interesting. Can you give me that name just spelled out, the first name? Because I caught the and the second, but I'm going to write it down so I can look good into it in his movies.
What, Ed Night Shyamalan or?
Nobody knows how to spell Shyamalan. Just look up Signs.
Oh,
The guy
yeah.
who directed Signs.
Yeah,
His first name is
You asking us
Edmund?
for? That's an absurd request. Look up Signs.
No, you smoking a spliff right now. Let me catch up, Flo.
Yeah, I've been smoking. Is it Edmund? That's all I'm trying to get at. Edmund what?
Just look at it like he said, Flo. Just look up the movie and then
Oh,
I
man.
can't spell it.
No. We've told you all the information that you need to find it. If you can't find it, you don't get to find it. No more info.
Okay, I'm gone then.
Flo. Damn, that's
I'll
brutal,
accept
bro.
it. I accept it. I accept it.
Damn, I guess that's that.
Yeah, and some dude, the ramp I'm skating there is actually a BMX park in California, in Santa Cruz. It was this big ass fucking BMX park. It was sick.
Bro, we used to. I remember stealing wood to make a ramp. We used to tie a piece of string in a marker, and then trace it down to make a perfect angle. And stole wood from construction sites to make ramps back in the days, like quarter pipes. And then it was right on the side of the highway, and people was because it was tree line. But then we'd be pedaling, and then we shoo. And then that's when we
Oh yeah.
60s, and everybody was like, "We keep seeing bikes flying above the trees. Where you guys landing at?" And then they will come back there like,
They set them up in the parking lots in Vegas, and that's
"No,
where I met Tony
yeah."
Hawk and brought my
started seeing us
kids
going shoot, and
backstage.
I was like, "What in the world?" And then they came back there and took.
Yeah, that was the way to do it. Just taking lumber out of containers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they took it. We had a lot of fun.
Wow, Dave's blown up backstage.
I feel like I'm reminiscing now.
Some dude, your mic is starting to like do a weird grubby thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, your mic's got that M. Night Shyamalan curse going.
Hold on, let me plug it and unplug it. Give me 1 second.
If you guys missed the exorcism at the beginning of the stream, I got you again.
You know, if I ask him to, he will put you backstage. I'm trying not to. I'm trying to be nice.
I will.
We'll start with the ad homs. Because
Okay.
You need a blessing of Jesus.
on a Christian channel, you would have been put backstage with the ad homs.
Father, Son, Spiritus Sancte. Where's my holy water? Pretend I'm shaking this on you. Jesus, in the name of your Son or your Father, whoever, cast the demons out of Jill so he stops filibustering and I don't have to send them into purgatory.
That's the devil's juice. It's Mountain Dew.
The devil's juice is Mountain Dew, code red. Amen.
Is this better?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
See, I just exorcised the demons out of your mic.
The freaking hat.
Okay. I'm probably going to wrap up pretty soon. I wasn't actually planning on doing an open panel at all tonight. Does anybody have any final thoughts, any upcoming events or channels or anything you want to show, or any orgasm noises you would like to make for us?
Well, we could do a math trick, but I'll save that for a later date. The movie thing was cool. I got a question for everybody. What's your most anticipated movie or the last favorite movie you watch or a series?
Some dude's like, no, don't shut down. I don't watch movies, so I don't even know what's coming out. And I think the last thing I watched was Count of Monte Cristo, which I'd already seen before, but I don't have any idea.
There's a wild movie. No, it's actually a series, and it's so dope. I forgot the name of it. It's on the tip of my tongue. And
My
it's
last series was The Vikings, probably 29 to 2014. That's the last time I watched anything.
I think
Dazed and Confused, and Burt Reynolds as a not a bank robber, safe heist. He robs safes. Forget the name of the movie.
All right, Mrs. Flo says that she just dropped it. Hold on. So on the Flow State Clips channel, which Nightbot just dropped a little bit ago. If you scroll up, hold on. There's a new short that Mrs. Flo just made, so I'm checking it out.
trying to remember this series.
There's been some really good shorts.
And this is the new one. So I'll drop the link to this. Y'all can go over and give it a like as well.
You came in and you wanted to talk about the sand in your vagina.
Pornhub. Yeah, that's a good app. It's a call.
In my head, zombie. It's what's in your. I love me some cargo shorts. You need to say what it was and who did it, or where on the doll it happened. But not a little bit. I made up that song. That's my song. It's called "In My Head." It's by the fucking Strawberries. What's up?
Oh,
The
yeah.
Masturbation Station. Put some aloe vera on it.
Masturbation?
Nothing. Time's up.
Because I want to, there's been, maybe, right? There's been.
I know. I want everyone to talk about it now. I made up Masturbation Station. I know, it's a good one. It's a good idea. Good idea, Taylor. That's a great idea. You came in and you wanted to talk about the sand in your vagina.
So that's a throw. If anybody was looking at it, I'm quite a bit younger there. That's a Throwback Thursday short from before Flow State. There's a different channel called Talking with Famous People that it's still around. Eric still has it, but I was on that one a lot.
It hit the mark. It was good. It was good.
And he had the balls to do a broadcast with people called Talking with Famous People. He was the famous person. Okay. If you go into these people fucking background, Jack Talcott, and you look at who they've been for the last 5 and 6 years, it's narcissist central. I'm the potentially famous person.
Dude's such a fucking nut, man. I can't fuck with Paul anymore, man. I can't give him any more chances. The guy's his ego, he's corny as shit.
He's out of control. I mean, like, I know that he likes to act like I hate him. I don't. I think that he could be something legit, but he's just so involved in his egomaniac narcissism thing that at least Jack's form of narcissism is smooth.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Paul's like that dude where it's like, dude, I'm about to, hit you with the baseball bat. Like in reality, he's that type of dude.
The first
like that.
I mean, the first time that he ever meets anybody new, right? What's he do? He degrades the fuck out of them, and that's a prerequisite, right? I've explained this before, but narcissists. Everybody in a narcissist world has to conform to their fantasy, right? So when you meet somebody, and the first thing they do is fuck with you like that, what they're really doing is weeding out people who will not conform to their delusions, and they're only looking for people who are willing to curtail.
I won't go back up. I was shut down for basically just asking like a logical question, and I was completely basically shut down for just asking. So
yeah, that's the welcome thing.
I'm still trying to figure out the name of this 8-part series that is super dope that y'all would like. It's crazy. The dude had like Mr. Fantastic arms, and they were hitmen and pirates. It'll captivate you. It's kind of a tearjerker too because it's so cool. I think he would have been the best Spider-Man. That's how good this actor was. I'm still having a hard time remembering it. It's like 8 parts to it, and I binged watched it on a weekend. The dopest series I've seen in a long time. I forgot what it's called, but you would love it.
Yo, just some dude. A good series to check out is This Is England. They did a movie and then they did a BBC series, a TV series. It's a dope.
I've been watch. It's one of the good binge watching things. If you haven't did it, The Godfather of Harlem, Boardwalk Empire.
I heard about that.
You never seen Boardwalk Empire? All series is like 12 seasons. It's like The Sopranos on crack.
Yeah, This Is England's dope. I mean, the culture and whatnot, and the history in there, and the acting. It's
Yeah, I like the England thing. They kind of bite off United States swag, but you know what kind of freaks me out? I can't get with the accent. I can't relate.
That's pretty dope, man.
Yeah,
check it out. It's I'm not leading you wrong. It's actually that good.
No, I'm definitely gonna check it out. I definitely trust me. I'm a aficionado when it comes to good series and movies. I am so upset right now that I can't remember this, and this is one of the best things I've seen all year, and I can't remember it.
it'll come to you right after you log off.
Probably. This is bad.
Flo, you said make a moaning noise?
Say it again.
Said make a moaning noise.
Oh yeah. If anybody wants to make sex noises or however, go ahead. You got one?
Yeah, I'm Peppa Pig. Ooh, oh.
That was really good. That was a really good one. Somewhere in time. What's your sound?
Waiting.
Okay, she comes silently.
No, I don't. I was thinking of a good one. Give me a minute.
Okay, we'll come back to you. It takes you a little bit longer. Some dude, would you like to make your own
At
noise?
least 2 hours.
Hold on. I'm not done yet. Give me a second. I'm almost done.
All right. Vaginal, you have not. Have you? I don't know if you've talked at all since you've been up here, but would you like to make an orgasm noise? Nope. That sounds like a copyright noise. Thank you for coming
All
up.
right.
Now, are either of you ready to come?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The principles of lust, they burn in your mind.
I hope that's not what you sound like when you come, but there we go.
No, not at all.
I just got a softie. I can't do
That's
this
an old
now.
song.
I'm logging off. I got a softie now.
Peace out.
Bye. Hey, I'm wearing that same shirt and the same. Am I wearing the same fucking hat too? No, different hat. Boner killer. Yeah, that was before, life happened. All right, I haven't been paying great attention to the chat for the last little bit, but thank you everybody for watching. If you haven't hit the like button, hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, do subscribe. If you're not a member, become a member. If you are a member, don't forget about the tanning injection emoji. And I made that because I think a lot of you are probably aware of the last little spat Easy and I had on Glenn Lawrence's. If not, you know what? Hold on a second. If not, I'll drop the link to Neve's channel where she reviews it because that's kind of fun. And anyways, during that okay, change the name on. During that discussion, Speakeasy was really trying to get me to take down the two shorts I made mocking him. And so I mean, I owe you more easy shorts. I said that I would during that I think during that debate, but definitely afterwards, that this has incentivized me to mock him more. And so the first thing I did, the easy thing to do, is to make a custom emoji commemorating the tanning injections from the one that he hated the most. I assume it's the one he hated the most because it got the most views by a long shot. I look healthier today than I am healthier today. Nothing could kill your boner. Hear me out. And then Mrs. Flo doesn't know this, but I think I'm going to make her sit down and we're going to watch and respond to the last Ricada Law upload. As I mentioned a little bit ago to Chuck, I think that probably I'm going to have us kind of watch and respond to that, because that's from what I know about Rekeda's situation, which is not a lot. It seems similar to what we dealt with. But anyways, we'll see about that. So keep an eye open for that. I don't know if it'll be a pre-recorded or a live thing, but he definitely hated that one the most. Right. Oh, I got some sleep. I got sleep. I slept till like 4 this afternoon. And then Miss Flo woke me up and said, "There's pancakes." I said, "All right." Miss Flo, I don't know if you know who, I'm not ignoring you, who Nick Rekieta is, Rekieta Law. He got raided, and last night he made his first live stream since he had been raided for drugs. So I think it might be fun for us to watch it and then kind of give our thoughts on it. Oh yeah, I am fatter. I'm fatter. I'm more well rested. I'm older, not gayer. All right. Anything else, or should I look for a place to send you fine viewers off to? I'll look for a place. And thank you, Old Joe and Sarah, for coming up at the beginning and having that discussion. I'm low key irritated that the people who should have listened to it the most, like Bill Hicks, you pussy, that they all ran away from it. How's the internet been, by the way? We got new internet 2 days ago, and we got better internet. We got the best internet that is available at all. We upgraded to fiber, and we got the very top fiber speed that they offer. So if there's any technical issues with my internet, or if I lag out or anything, it's a hardware, not a connection issue. I don't think anybody has said that there is, though. And I don't know. Ooh. I don't know if Harmon or Romello or Steve are still here, or Ike, but thank you, all of you, for the support, the contributions you made on not this stream, but the restream from Based Oracles I did earlier. You know what? Let me just see what's good. There's I've made the mistake before. I guess it's not a mistake, just I wish I had known of sending people to a stream that was talking about something kind of random, or that was just winding down. So I think I know where I'm going to send you. I just want to take a quick peek in the door first, if I can find them. You know what? Fuck that shit. I'm not even gonna waste your time. 35 of you here. I expect to see Yeah, RBR passed away. So rest in peace to RBR. That is a bummer. I knew that he was in bed. I knew that he had cancer. I just didn't realize that it was going to be this quick of cancer. That is too bad. He was content gold. And I think probably less insane than he acted. Change the resolution for the video. So you're saying like lower resolution or higher? Like, hold on, let me see what my... There's a fucking fly in here. It makes me so goddamn mad. Resolution. It's on standard 480p. Do you and I can go up to 720, up to 1080, or down to 360. Would you go to 1080 or 720? That's 720. You'd go to 1080? All right, let me go to 1080. Oh, I guess the 1080 is not an option for some reason. I'm using my laptop cam, but I've got this now, like when I was doing the based Oracle angle, so I can tinker with it some. I have to reset the stream for it to take effect. All right. All right. Well, thank you for the heads up. I'll tinker with it some. And let's see. I'm going to send you guys somewhere, but first, let's see. What do I want to play? What do I want to play? Should I play a little thing? No, I'm just going to give you this.
Say, fuck you. Yeah, fuck you.
Arpul, show us your genitals.
Say, fuck you.